labor again.
Call you home.
Whether lightning, thunder, sun or rain, we go to labor again. We go to labor again. We go to labor again. Whether earthquake, tsunami or hurricane, we go to labor again.
Give me.
We go to labor again.
Wesley.
We go to labor again.
Marigo.
Whether lightning, thunder, sun or rain, we go to labor again. We go to labor again.
Labor right. Gather. Hey.
Go to labor again.
La plaine.
We go to labor again.
Run for.
Whether lightning, thunder, sun or rain, we go to labor again. We go to labor again.
Portsmouth.
We go to labor
St.
again.
Joe.
Whether earthquake, tsunami or hurricane, we go to labor again.
Lakers. Hey. Labor rights. At home and abroad. 5 more years. Hey. Yeah, man.
The plans and policies of the Labour Party, those are things I never see. Care for the elderly and for people of this country, those are things I never see. So I'm calling on the people from the least to Grandford, come with me, let us put back labor. If you want to see progress, don't give yourself stress, come with me and let us put labor. Go to labor
Carry
again.
territory.
Go to labor
Cassie
again.
Bruce.
Whether lightning, thunder, sun or rain, we go to labor again. We go to labor again. We go to labor
This
again. Whether earthquake, tsunami or hurricane, we go to labor again.
Rosno Central.
Hey,
Labor power.
hey,
Yepa.
the housing revolution going on in my nation. Those are things I never see. A university graduate in every home. Those are things I never see. The new hospital powered by geothermal, the Rosso Promenade and the Stop Farm Sport Complex. All this is testimony of a leader who care. Come with me, let us put back labor. Go to labor again. Go to labor again.
Rosso North.
Whether lightning, thunder, sun or rain, we go to labor again. We go to labor again.
Rosso Valley.
We go to labor again.
Rosso South.
Whether earthquake, tsunami or hurricane, we go to labor again.
South Green. Labor rights. Wave your right. Whatever red you have in your hand. Red. Give it.
Ça qui conseille ou, gagne un cheval gros boudin, pas que j'aime, aider au chaiser. 365 jours dans l'année, chaise l'année ou kababie, gardez ou pas yon côté.
Ou ka kriye pour élection. Actuellement élection rive. Gardez ou ka li blage.
Mais jour à que rive, là les vacances disaient encore, moi les ouais maman, ça ou que faire. Faut il les again. Faut il les again.
Call you home.
Whether lightning, thunder, sun or rain,
Yo, what a track there, boy. I tell you, that track they're going to be with the Dominica Labour Party for many, 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 many years to come. Let me say a special good evening and welcome to all of our listeners who are listening in Dominica, to the north, south, east, and west coast of the beautiful nature island. It is indeed another Saturday evening. Right, I want to say a special big up to all folks in St. Lucia. Yes, St. Lucia, because the Dominica Labour Party, as you know, in St. Lucia is running a serious campaign there. So we're going to big them up there. But we're going to come back to that. I want to big up the folks in St. Lucia, St. Martin, Anguilla, St. Thomas and the U.S., Virgin Island, all the folks in the United States and Canada. A special big up to all the folks in the United Kingdom who are always tuned into the next level. All the folks who are always listening in Guadeloupe, Ever, Martinique. Alors, moi, les souhaiter autres. Oh, bonsoir, bonsoir, bonsoir. Ça qu'a fait au soir. Yes, it is a wonderful day today. We had some little showers right here, but absolutely nothing to worry about. It was indeed a wonderful weather today. That's the kind of weather we love. A little rain, keeping the forest growing nice. Want to big up the folks who are joining us also on the Kyrie FM Facebook page. I know many of you have logged in already and waiting on your program. Of course, as you know, there was a cultural event taking place earlier on this evening, and the next level, we 100% behind the culture. So we allow for some time in our program. But I'm here in studio and no doubt going to be here with you throughout this evening as we will continue our discussion, not only on the budget, but to look at some of the statements that are being made out there in the public by those who advocate on behalf of the UWP as we continue to keep them in check. The next level always dealing with the hardcore politics and things that go on politically in the country. So yes, that's where we also deal with that, and that we keep you informed on whatever it is that is being said or the way in which they oppose or make statements. All right, it's already 8:42 on, this 24th day of July 2021, and it's going to be a week when we are expecting none other than the budget to be presented by Prime Minister Dr. Skerritt. Yeah, man, big up there to Dr. Skerritt there, who is again going to present this, yes, I telling you, what will be no doubt $993.6 million budget. You hear that, people? We've gone from the days of having budgets of 300 million and 400 million and 500 million, but to $993.6 million. So, yes, on this day, the 28th of July 2021, the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister for Finance will deliver the fiscal year 2021 to 2022 budget address to the nation and to seek Parliament's approval to appropriate an amount of $993.6 million from the consolidated fund. Of this amount, $438.9 million is allocated to government's public sector investment program. Yes, people, in this year's public sector investment program, government will advance project geared towards the continued dissatisfaction and transformation of the economy. The development of the international airport will feature as the single most prominent project. So big up there again to the government on the international airport with estimated expenditure of $75 million. So in this budget, yes, the DLP administration is projecting to spend $75 million, people, and our local people are already getting to work because, as you know, they have to clean the land, they have to prepare the land, they have to dispose of what they are cleaning. So yes, money is beginning to talk right from the get-go as this project begins. This long-awaiting project is here. It has started, and in the upcoming months, as work accelerates, its positive impact will become more visible in the country. Dominica, it's happening. On the budget day, the Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Skerritt and Minister of Finance will also propose to Parliament a number of new policy measures which will bring additional economic benefits to our people. Many of those were crafted following feedback and consultation with the private sector, citizens, and residents. We pray God guidance and protection of this beautiful nation, Dominica, and its people during the upcoming fiscal year. So again, a big up there to the Dominica Labour Party. C'est Saukakuye, Labour, Ka, Toi, Vai. Yeah, man, big up to my brother Guada there, always reminding us that Labour, Ka, Toi, Vai. And, so yes, I'm going to take a couple of your calls quickly there. Just take a few calls and get right into our discussion that we're running a little late, as you know. Caller, good evening on the local line.
Good evening, Simeon.
Hi, good evening.
Calling you Lopin with Honorable Captain Daniel. And I'd like to say good evening to the Honorable Prime Minister, his wife, children, and family. And I'd like to say good evening again to my person in Granville, Portsmouth. My person, good night. Zetman is calling. Saying good night to you.
All right.
To my Millicent and all my labor rights friends. Ms. Daniel in Chance, Portsmouth, good evening to you. Clefa, Mary D, Tony in Guadeloupe, Mr. and Mrs. Guada, and all my labor rights friends. And Simeon, spend your day.
The day was all right. Thank you. God bless. Yes.
Okay. Good night to you and all my labor rights people. Good evening.
All right, take care there. Yeah, special big up to you there and all the folks in Collier. Of course, want to shout out Mr. Monroe there. Just send out a few shout outs there over there in Bellevue. Of course, the folks in Granby, Mr. Moise in Bellevue there. Good evening to you. Annette Bates, how are you today? Hope you are doing fine. My Flossie, good evening to you. I said it was your birthday earlier on in the week. And of course, to the family there of our dear sister there in the Roseau South constituency there. I saw there were wonderful vigil on her behalf there, and a special big up there to them, and continue to stay strong there in the Roseau South constituency there. I want to shout out, of course, my brother Ostel, Sagafet, Mr. Ostel. Good evening to you, sir, and family, and to all the good folks in the east coast of the island there, Grand Fond. Want to say a special big up to all the folks in Grand Fond, and do hope that you all are keeping safe there, as we know it has been a really rough period for you all there, as you all had to go under a lockdown because of COVID-19 that no doubt would have some effect on many of your ability to go out and carry out your function as you would normally do. So we, pray that everything is going much better today with all of you as as these days come down. And to all the folks in the Lace and Lap Lane, a special big up to you, Desi, and all the guys up there in the Lace, our senior laborites and all our fellow laborites throughout Lap Lane and Casgory. We want to say a special big up to the folks in the North, yes, Vickers, Penville, and Thibault. Big up to all of you in Tukari there. I want to big up all the folks in Savant Pie. Some of these places there, I don't always mention, but they do come to mind once in a while, so I want to mention them. And my God, Wesley and Woodford Hill, big up there. The airport coming. Caller, good evening on the local line.
Of course, the airport coming. Good evening, Simeon.
Hi, good evening to you.
You vlogs to me, Honorable Catherine Daniel, Labour Katwavai. I would like to say good evening to all my Labour and my Labour brothers and sisters.
Yes.
I would like to say good evening to Wawalin Vilkas and Bolu.
All right, yeah.
All the best. Thank you.
All right, take care there. Thank you for your call there. So, yes, again, a special big up to all of you, and do hope that you all enjoy tonight's program as we get into our discussion very shortly. Caller, good evening on the local line.
Good evening, Simeon. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good evening.
Okay, Fonkole is locked in.
All right, there. Thank you for calling there. A special big up to all folks there in Fonkole. Mr. and Mrs. Taverny up there in Mondaniel. All the folks in Kenfield. Tijo, how you doing there? All the folks locked in Yanda. Want to say a special big up to you all as well. Massac. Yes, all the folks in France who are joining us on the Carry FM Facebook page. A special big up to you all there. Caller, good evening on the overseas line.
Simeon, what's up?
I'm good, thanks.
Hey, Boston in the house. You know who's calling?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
All right. All the best.
All right, thank you, my brother. Yep, yeah, man. Special big up there to all the folks there in Boston who are always listening. Antigua, yeah, man. Big up there to you in Antigua. All right, there. So again, it's always a pleasure. You know, tonight we usually take more calls. Or taking a final call there in the segment. Caller, good evening to you. Good evening on the local line.
Okay. You can hear me clearly?
Loud and clear.
Oh, you can hear me clearly? I'll call back.
No, I'm hearing you. You're going out clear. Okay, she's not hearing us. I suspect there is a problem with your telephone, Devado. You are not hearing us as clear on your side. But let's just see who's here. Caller, good evening.
Good evening to you, my son.
Good evening, mommy.
I'm right in my kitchen. You making noise?
Not as much.
In your ears?
No, ma'am, not. I won't say disturbing me right now.
Okay,
but you can lower it. It would be nice to lower it as you continue to speak because you can have some echo. And I'm hearing some echo at this point in time, so it would be nice if you lower it.
Okay, my son.
Yeah, as you come and give us the blessing. You know, we always have to get the blessing when we start this program. And Mommy is good at doing the blessing and doing the prayer. And so we always welcome the prayer every night to bless us and guide us. Yes, ma'am.
Everything okay?
I'm good, thank you. I'm happy to have you to give us the opening prayer there.
Okay, so how was the week?
The week was good, mommy. God bless. I'm here feeling all right. Thankful for that every day. We pray, take it one day at a time.
The family is okay?
Doing good, thank you. God bless.
And may God continue to bless, guide, protect, and direct you and your family, your daughters, or how many you have. May God protect you all, and I claim that precious blood of Christ Jesus of Nazareth from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet. No matter what the enemies of the state trying on you and your family, just keep on holding on and pray to the unchanging hands of Jesus of Nazareth. May he continue to bless, guide, protect, and direct you and your family. And I'm saying good evening to my Dr. Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. There is no other beside you. You are a gift from the Almighty. He claimed you to be the leader of this country. No matter what they try and what they say, just keep on holding on to the unchanging hands of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, the Holy Spirit, and the God Almighty who gave you his breath of life. Trust in him always. May he continue to shower you and hold your hands and walk with you, your wife, your children, your in-laws, and all ministers and senators of the government. Throughout the darkest night and the brightest day, no weapon that form against you all shall not prosper. My Prime Minister, your gift from God, and continue the mission for him to take care of his country and the people of this land. The poor, the poorest of the poor, the downtrodden, the sick and the lame. God bless you, my Prime Minister. Mommy will continue to pray. The more they say things about you, it is sweeter you look, no matter what. Keep on holding on, my son. Do not look down like Peter did when he was walking on the water. Keep your head above the waters. Keep your head and keep on calling on the Almighty. And I want to call on Holy Michael, the Archangel. I pray for all policemen, senators, ministers, firemen, fishermen, farmers, carpenters, joiners, all types of work. I pray for everyone, the youth of this country. I keep on calling on the Almighty for them. And I say, Holy Michael, the Archangel, the most powerful angel in heaven, who drove the dragon and his bad angels down to hell. I say, Holy Michael, defend my Prime Minister and his family. Defend my country and the nation. Those who support in the government here and abroad, my family. There's a battle going on. But I'm asking Holy Michael to defend us in that day of battle. Be our protection and guard against the wills and the wickedness of those devils. May God rebuke them, I humbly pray. And do thou, Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, drag down into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowling through this land and the world, seeking the souls of the children of God the Most High. Let us continue to pray. Let us call on the Holy Spirit. Let us ask him to continue to call on the Father and cry out to the Father on our behalf, and asking the Lord to protect us throughout this hurricane season, the storm, the tremors, and whatever. God is in control.
Amen.
And I will call back.
Thank you, Mommy, for your blessings on tonight's program. Always a pleasure having, our senior citizen over 8 years to bless us with, her lovely prayers. And no matter how you take it, only the hypocrites who believe that prayers are not important. And we see that in some of those, who call themselves so-called pastors. But we'll examine them a little later in tonight's program. But as we begin tonight's program, want to acknowledge the election that's going on in St. Lucia. They're big up to all the fans in St. Lucia who follow the next level there. A number of them follow our program there, and it's hot there in St. Lucia. Of course, the election is on Monday coming. Yes, the Dominica Labour Party and the UWP is at it there in St. Lucia there. And you realize I played this track there twice. That's our track there. We vote in Labour again. It was dedicated to a number of the folks up there who follow our program and wanted to warm them up with one of our very own there. Just a pity we couldn't put their constituencies in that song, but it would be so fitting to have had it there. Ernest Hille, of course, in Castries South running there. Want to big them up, and all the folks there who are no doubt. And I see this Jeremiah guy, who had an accident and lost his leg, but the guy held on strong, and I see getting some serious endorsement there from people who supported the UWP there. So certainly things looking positive for the DLP, I would say, by those angles. We saw resignation of guys who once ran and were elected members of the UWP who are now supporting going independent, but technically the way they're going independent, there are things looking like it going Labour way. So whatever the case is, it's going to be quite an interesting election there. And the no doubt the St. Lucia Labour Party, I'll say DLP, yes, is not DLP. St. Lucia Labour Party is running against the UWP there in St. Lucia, and it's going to be a real big campaign there. I look forward to it. I think there are 26 or 27 days of a campaign there. Shastney called that election after having gone past the 5 years. First time they said in the history of St. Lucia they ever went past 5 years. And I don't know whether Shastney was afraid of calling the election, but he eventually did. And the campaign, I tell you, it's quite hot. I'm following it, and I'm listening to the different vibes that go in there with Buffalo, the Buffalo, and all kind of songs they're coming up with. So election time is really hot time, and St. Lucia is like a carnival. So special big up again to all our St. Lucian fans and all those who always tune into the next level. I know you're waiting to vote, and we look forward to the SLP really emerging in this election. My support is Labour. So I myself, I Labour. All right, so big up to the Labour Party there and all the folks on the campaign. I tell you, it's hot there tonight. Tomorrow is like they're going for the home run. You know what? After that is, they're going to show the list, they show the Sally the little finger. All right, St. Lucia speak a lot of Creole. You can Sally do it. All right, big up there to them, and, I look forward to that. We'll be following it for sure, and see whatever the results are in the election there. So again, as I said, St. Lucia is happening there, a big campaign taking place there with the Alan Shastney and PJ there. Certainly, it's going to be quite a election this year. Labour might just carry that again. You never know. Let's wait, let's watch, and we will follow the clock as it continues to tick on the general elections there in our sister island, St. Lucia. Yeah, St. Lucia is a nice place. You can go to St. Lucia now, and as you land, drive normal. You don't have to worry about going and get a license. Once you have your driver's license in Dominica, you can drive freely. St. Lucia is one of the countries that almost like Dominica. You enter and you can move around. They have harmonized quite a bit of their legislation, like we too have done here in Dominica for citizens of St. Lucia. So again, big up, yeah man, to the SLP, St. Lucia Labour Party, as they continue to look at the development of their country there. Now, as I said earlier on, this week, the 28th, it's going to be a big day for us here in Dominica. And as we will hear from our Minister for Finance, Dr. Skerritt, who will no doubt continue, like he have done on many occasions, to present what will be a formidable budget, one where the government is able to raise the much-needed financing under what is our citizenship by investment program. As you know, the UWP did everything they could over the many years to destroy this program. Even if they knew that the program was a good thing for Dominica, but yet still, the leader of the opposition and his team decided that they wanted to seek to put all kind of find countries to put all kind of embargoes. These are the kind of things they wanted to see, and to go after the program that is causing this government to be able to bring the much needed development that we require for Dominica moving forward. And so we have, here you have an opposition who did everything. I mean, they caused havoc in this country. They went as far as to go on 60 minutes, to talk about our citizenship program as if it's something where you're just walking on the road and you can just pick up and, it's you can get it via mail and to, false information. And this government had to do and spend quite a bit on public relations in order to get this program and to put investors' confidence in Dominica as a destination where they should invest in. And as a result of that, we see that the program continue to do well in spite of COVID-19. And this government, our government, the Dominica Labour Party government, is able to this year again project to spend $75 million, which will no doubt come from the citizenship by investment program, because as you know, the agreement has been signed and the Montreal management has already started the process immediately, and that's how this company operate. They do things very fast, they get on the ball, they have the know-how, and we see with all the other important projects that they have delivered to Dominica, that they were able to do so as a result of their ability to not only raise the money, but to manage the project in ensuring that the project is delivered within a reasonable time. And so we are seeing again in this particular budget, Prime Minister Skerritt is saying $75 million will be going towards that. So out of $438.9 million, as this government continue to move this country's economy forward in a direction that we have never seen in the past. So while we have all of the important hotels that will, of course, accommodate this airport as it comes, because, back in the days, people were saying, we need an international airport, but we didn't have the hotel's capacity to accommodate an international airport. And at the time when we were building the what is now the Windsor Park Stadium, a state-of-the-art facility, many said that the DLP would not have delivered on what it promised. Today, we are able to all see the Windsor Park Stadium and how it is, a massive piece of infrastructure right there in the city, and how it which serves Dominica on various occasions, particularly with international cricket games and other sporting activities. And so, yes, they said that we would never be able to bring in the stadium. But again, the DLP was able to demonstrate that it was able to bring it in. So they say, well, where's the hotel? The opposition say, well, where's the hotel? We don't have a hotel. So why are you building a stadium for, and we don't have hotels? Well, I remember calling the UWP programs themselves and said to them, well, we are building the stadium and the hotels will come. I remember saying that to them some years ago while, they were criticizing the Dominica Labour Party for building the Windsor Park Stadium. I said, we are building it now. And I remember one of the members of the UWP, they were in government asking how we going to maintain the stadium. And I'm like, if we get a stadium for free, we don't have a loan to pay, you're asking us how we going to maintain it. So by that, we should say no to our Chinese partners that we're not interested in it because we don't know how we're going to maintain it. And that's to show you how silly sometimes the UWP would think when it comes to some of those things that we talk about in terms of the country's development. And so they were criticizing us and saying, where's the hotel? So since we don't have hotels, and some of the examples that they highlighted was, when Pakistan come down to, not Pakistan, but South Africa come down to play, when you bring in all of those big England to play, are we going to provide housing for these people and hotel for those people? And then I said to them, the hotels will come. And so today, in 2021, we now see major investment, state-of-the-art investment that is attracting people from across the world to invest into those hotels and the Jungle Bay and all of those that are going on, including Secret Bay, where we saw one villa. Imagine that, an investor invest in one villa, $7.5 million, $7.5 million. And I guess that is a home for that investor away from home. So when they come to Dominica, they have a place there where they can live in. And so they have actually purchased their villa for and I think that's a major investment, and that shows the level of confidence that they have put into our country, Dominica, by making such an investment in actually one villa. I mean, that was just amazing to me how Mr. Gregor Nassif and his company was able to attract such an investor in Dominica. And so the CBI program have impacted, yes, on all of those important pieces of infrastructure. And no doubt, while the opposition continue to ask, where are the hotels? Today, we have the hotels. We have the hotels, and they are all being constructed in spite of the fact that COVID-19 came around. And as a result of COVID-19, that slowed down things, particularly in the tourism sector, and would obviously impact on hotels and so forth. But still, Dominica was able to keep things moving in spite of the challenges that we have, and we see the investment in these hotels continue. Now, while all of this is happening now, there is a focus on getting the geothermal project going as well, and that is something we will see happening. These things do take time, and they will not just happen all at once, but we know that for a number of years now, this piece of legislation was passed in the early 70s when the government at the time felt that geothermal was an important aspect of Dominica's natural resource, and we needed to seek to, develop it further. And so they went to Parliament and passed legislation enacting that the government would make investment into that particular sector. And for a number of years, it stayed there. Numerous governments came in and explored other areas where, we could get energy from our natural resource. And we saw that, that ended up where the DLP today is the one who is ensuring that it put its focus at the same time on, making sure that we can generate lower cost of energy through our geothermal project. And this is something I know that Dr. Anderson is working extremely hard on. So having said all that now, we are... And I should say further before I go into saying what I say there finally on that when you look at our road network in Dominica, it is something that was of concern to many Dominicans who were concerned about our road network. And that was something that, as I said, people rang in your ears every day on every talk show about the road network. Well, that is not a problem today because all of our main roads are in very, very good condition. I mean, you can drive from here to Portsmouth now and don't see a pothole. You can drive to Douglas Charles from Kenfield and don't meet a pothole on the road. And we have the road in the Cassibruce area going into the Kalinago territory, all of which are under development currently as we speak in the eastern side of Dominica. So major investment over the years. And I remember the EU actually doing a report, commissioning a report on the road network in Dominica some years ago. And at that time, our government, our Labour Party government, had entered into a diplomatic relation with the People's Republic of China, whereby the West Coast Road was one of the projects that was identified as a project that would be given to us as a result of the agreement that Dr. Skerritt entered into as a grant. Not a loan, as a grant, because we were still under an IMF program at the time that had brought around on our citizens because of the mismanagement of the opposition UWP while they ran the affairs of this country. So Dominica, having achieved its road network, whereby they said over $800 million would have to be raised in order to fully accomplish the level of standard that would be bringing all of our roads, pretty much in good and motorable condition, like compared to what they were. And so $800 million. But the DLP, without putting major debt on the citizens, was able to raise that money and in some cases through grant, through the citizenship program, through other means, develop our road network to the point where today Dominica have wonderful, wonderful road. And I want to urge our drivers to not to speed too much and to cause accidents on the road, because we see quite a few of it lately there, and I think people are speeding a little too much. So be careful on the road. They are lovely. So having all of these nice roads now, this major investment taking place in the hotel sector, with our hospital being, under construction, and I'm talking about a state-of-the-art hospital from the People's Republic of China, who, again, another gift, not a loan, people, a gift. It means it's a grant, negotiated by our Prime Minister on behalf of the citizens of Dominica. This is under construction. With the new Marigot Hospital, the one I hear the opposition leader trying to take praise for, all of a sudden is he that tell Skerritt to our Prime Minister to spend the CBI money on the program. I thought his mother told him that he should not be boastful, not to be boastful about anything. I mean, because he brought bags of rice, boatloads of relief supplies after Maria for his people, and not even the people he brought it for, he told that he was bringing it for him. Or even the people who received it, he told that he was bringing it because his mother told him, don't be boastful. I'm talking about Lennox Linton who said that. His mother told him not to be boastful. But all of a sudden, for a whole week, it was Mr. Linton who said that the CBI program should be used to build a Marigot Hospital. I first. Isn't that being boastful? But the fact is that it was Linton first who said so. The DLP policy of using the CBI program to develop this country has been an ongoing process. And what the opposition has done is basically attack this program to try to destroy it. That is what we know Lennox Linton did. Not to come and tell us about what to use the CBI program for, because part of the plan of the DLP is to use this program to develop the health sector. That is why over 12 health centers were constructed and are still under construction right across Dominica throughout the community. So our health, sector, we can say, is top notch. Even if we're not at how some countries may be, but we have zero death from COVID-19. We were able to test people for COVID-19 because of the readiness of our health system, and thanks to power all the professionals in the health sector, the doctors, the nurses, the minister, the government, who all ensured that it is happening for the citizens of Dominica. So all of those things I tell you are going on. And we heard Prime Minister Scary talk about major investment that will take place in the education sector, with the number of schools that will be constructed through grant financing that will come from the relationship that we continue to share with the People Republic of China. And a number of other things we will hear from Prime Minister Scary on the 28th when he presents this budget. So with all of those things that I have spoken about tonight, that the DLP is doing, have done, continue to do, then comes the international airport, the masterpiece that is going to now put the icing on Dominica's economy, the international airport. One that the opposition UWP, they criticize it and try to stop it. Recently, they asked for a small runway to be built. They went and had all kind of meetings in Wesley and Woodfordle to try to convince the people against cooperating with the government in ensuring that this project can be done. The leader of the opposition and others found all kind of reasons that they should illustrate to the people as to why they should be against a project that is going to bring serious growth and development in this area. So this airport that they tried to build when they were in power, because yes, the UWP know that we need an airport, so they went around and tried in the eve of an election, to convince Dominicans so that they could get an next term in office that they were going to build an airport, one that they obviously failed on badly. And so as a result of that, my good friend Mr. Christian have always reminded us of the fact that Dominica is going to pay over $400+ million. You understand? And the DLP have been paying that debt for the last 20 years and have not lapsed on the debt. Obviously, our Prime Minister, Dr. Skerritt, had to renegotiate that debt because the manner in which the UWP negotiated that debt for the airport, it was not in the best interest of the citizens of Dominica, and therefore had to be negotiated by our political leader, Prime Minister Dr. Skerritt, in order to ensure that Dominica would be able to manage better. Because we had to renegotiate the debts of the UWP. They were so desperate at the time for money. In their desperation of running the country, they were just, as you know, selling all of the state assets and doing whatever they could to seek to raise money. And money which obviously at the end of the day that came as a detriment to the citizens of the country, because we had to pay higher taxes. Many people lose their properties. Many folks lost their jobs. And all of these things were implemented in order to stabilize the economy of this country. So we are at a point now where this international airport that is about to begin in this year's budget, where over $75 million, we say we have to take things one step at a time. Well, in this year, $75 million going into it. And it is expected to commence in this year's budget. This is the icing on the cake for Dominica. The talk of an international airport in Dominica will come to an end. Dominica will join the international world where an international airport is concerned, and that, no doubt, the DLP intend to put to rest in this year. Dr. Skerritt said to us, if it's not done this time, it ain't gonna happen in a hurry, or we will live, many of us will die and not live to see the international airport in this country. But again, I have the fullest of confidence, like I have always done in our political leader, that he will no doubt deliver on this international airport as a promise, and we are all excited over this year's budget. I got to take a short break there. When I come back, I'm going to continue from right where, of course, I left you, because this is a very, very important project for Dominica. All right, let's see there. Let me take a short break there.
Hey, give him Donald, I wondering who taught you. Donald, I wondering who taught who. Give them Galang-galang-dang-dang, galang-galang-galang-galang, galang-galang-dang-dang. Boy, when you knock him, the rules remain the same. Want him to lose, want him to win. If If ever you lose, you go home and dress your bruise. Come back again in another game. Hey, put on a lieutenant. You remind me of he.
Yes, welcome back to you wherever you are. And so, as I was saying there, that this is another important milestone for us to see that we are able to achieve this level of investment in this international airport at this time of our economy. So you can imagine in your mind now a Dominica with an international airport, with all of the chain of hotels that it requires across Dominica, whether you go in the north, in the south, in the Roseau Central, whether you go to the Roseau Valley, wherever you go, you can see a mark of the citizenship by investment program. So not only on housing is this citizenship program focused, but it's also focused on the very important pieces of infrastructure that we require in order to move Dominica forward. And again, I have to say that when we listen to the opposition trying to criticize the Dominica Labour Party policies and to give the impression that Dominica is worse off today and we have not moved forward. We have more people educated today in Dominica, university graduates, than we have ever had in the history of Dominica. Our own citizens can come today and man the hospital because they are all trained professionals, many of who were educated and given the opportunity to further their education under the Dominica Labour Party. So yes, people are being trained, are being educated, are being given opportunities with over $20 and more million being spent. Yes, just to pay for the education of our children annually. And if you have to go back in the years of the Dominica Labour Party and you have to factor in the millions this government has spent just on education for our young people annually, and you look at all of those budgets, you will see how many hundreds of millions of dollars that have been spent. And yes, some people will criticize the government when there is a little late payment for whichever school, but a lot of times they don't understand the semantic behind why sometimes this thing happen. These things has to be reconciled. They can take time and they can go through a process. But yes, the government continue to keep its commitment, needless to say, and Prime Minister Skerrit, no doubt, make sure that these payments are made to these institutions on behalf of our students. So not only did we give free education at our Dominica State College, but the government went as far as to saying that there must be a university graduate in every single home. And I'm sure there might be many more. So is Dominica moving in the right direction? And I'm sure that many of you listening tonight will agree that yes, Dominica is moving in the right direction. And yes, some things, as I said, take time, but think about it. Many generations have come and they have gone and they didn't live to see many of the things that we are able to see on this island, because Dominica do not have gold. We do not have, the kind of resources that sometimes we can make the kind of billion like oil. But our citizenship program has been effectively used and utilized for the benefit of our citizens. And that's what this international airport is going to add to that. So again, we want to really commend Prime Minister Skerrit and his cabinet and, all of the senators and all those who are playing a role in ensuring that all of those wonderful things that I spoke about happen for our country, Dominica. My friend Karens just joined me there. I want to say good evening to him. Karens, good evening to you, my brother. Sakafet.
Good evening, CB. How things was the week?
Week was good, thanks God. Doing all right, God bless. Here again before another week.
Me too. Apart from the sad days with my Fred Corinth here, I mean, we had a good week. I think we had a pretty good week. Let me say good evening to my friend Mr. Wallace and his wife and family. Let me say a special good evening to Vanos. I haven't seen you in a while. By that COVID thing, sometimes you just don't like going visiting people with that COVID whatever. But you're always on my mind. Let me say good evening to my friend, the Prosper sisters somewhere in the USA, enjoying the summer. I hope you're having some good time. these people just leave Emsol and went to the USA to spend the entire summer. By all reports, they're enjoying themselves. Let me see. A special good evening to my friend in Point Michel Ayel and his wife. A special good evening to you. Good evening to my folks in Pichelin, Bagatelle, Fonsejean, the entire Petite Savane constituency. My aunt she's in Bellevue Shopping now. My aunt in Bellevue Shopping, Pichelin. Special good evening to you. Let me say special good evening to Flossie Joseph, the matriarch of the Dominica Labour Party. I know you are listening. A special good evening to you. Hope you're doing okay. The last time Irma and I came to see you. Special good night also to Irma Lafont down there in Canefield. And good night to all the Laborites listening. Simeon, yes, coming week is budget day. When the Prime Minister would deliver a $994 million budget. I think it's almost even between capital expenditure and recurrent expenditure. Capital expenditure being about $439 million, and the difference of about $55 million is recurrent expenditure. And significant in this is a $75 million allocated this year for the airport project. This is the first year, the preliminary year. The airport has started basically, but $75 million under this year's budget is allocated to the airport. As we know, the airport will take a period of about 3.5 to 4 years to build. So you cannot put everything in one budget. So it's as you're going along. But this year the government is expected to spend some $75 million allocated. They can spend more, but and if they have to, they would do that by supplementary. But the amount allocated for this year's airport is $75 million. So we will see work moving on as the year goes by. Yeah, basically, Simeon, what else to talk about except the same rhetoric from the other side? I listen to some rhetoric, people talking about civil war and
yes, but we'll get
to that.
I'll get into that. We'll get to that discussion.
So let me say good night to my Facebook friend in Toronto. I know you are listening. Special good evening, special Saturday night to you. Hope you enjoying yourself, and good night to Francis Hilton also in Toronto. Listening. Let me say good night to Jolly Regis in St. Thomas and Esther Thomas in St. Thomas. Special good night to you, and Lawa, Paul Alexander. Good night to you up there in St. Thomas. My friend Moses is in Dominica, so in Bellevue, so a special good evening to you.
Yeah, so I wanted to say, Clarence, that in relation to, the budget, what's important is that the impact and the effect of this budget on the country. Sometimes I was looking at last year's budget, for example, and I was looking at some of the policies that the government spoke about in last year's budget. And, sometimes things happen and we don't make any big issue out of it. But there were two things that happened which I appreciated a lot in the last budget. And there was one policy where the government took a decision to waive the value-added tax, the VAT, on machinery that will be used for the purpose of manufacturing. I think, that is a big thing for manufacturers, because the VAT in itself is a 15% of whatever the value of the piece of equipment or machinery that you would have purchased for your factory of whichever type, but once it's manufacturing, that definitely contributed a significant value against what you would pay when you get at the customs. And so the government, as many of you, and if many of you do not know that, have went to the parliament and ensured that in this past year that there is legislation that when you bring in your pieces of machinery for the purpose of manufacturing, that the value added tax will be waived automatic. It's something that you apply at the customs, and it's just something that you have to go through the cabinet for again. There is a decision, and there is also an act of parliament that enforces the waiver of the value added tax, the VAT, then what we call the VAT, on manufacturing pieces of machinery for manufacturing. So I think that is a big plus, and I don't know what new Prime Minister Skerrit will introduce in this year's budget in relation to further relief for the manufacturing sector, if it will be extended further in any particular way on raw material or whatever it may be for the purpose of manufacturing, because those things can help to significantly impact on the economy. So that's a big thing, and I hope that our manufacturers will become innovative and be able to invest in the pieces of machinery that would be required in order to help drive the economy forward. So this is a policy position that was promised in the last budget, and it was implemented during the financial year. So again, I want to big up the government on that one. As you know, I am in the manufacturing sector, and I too saw that work. So that thing is a benefit that there for all manufacturers, even though you blue, you green, you yellow, that one do a color in it. That is about Dominica. And the other thing I want to big up on in the last budget, as I said, I want to select two particular ones, is the reduction that many people got in their income tax, as a result of the waiver of the interest on the income tax that was owed by many citizens, who owed Inland Revenue money, and some of them had a difficulty in meeting the payments because there was what you call a interest that incurred over a period of time against this amongst balances that was owed. And so the government again took a decision to allow a waiver, a period of time in which our citizens could go in and make an arrangement with Inland Revenue, as well as, to be able to get an automatic waiver of all the interest owed, and to be able to pay the just the principal sum that you owed to the government. So again, I think those two areas did benefit the business sector, because as you know, nobody owes more sometimes than the business sector. And I heard the Honorable Ian Douglas spoke about the number of persons who took advantage of this policy, and so again, I look forward to this year's budget with great interest, Clarence. I know Prime Minister Skerrit, as he said, he have done things. If we look at this press release, it actually makes it clear that the government did this in looking at in consultation as well with the private sector, where no doubt the government would seek the advice on where we should move forward, as some of the government policies can impact on the private sector. So the private sector, citizens and residents, there were feedback through various forms of consultation, and that was undertaken. So again, yes, Terence?
Yes, Simeon, there is another significant benefit that people got under the last year's budget. And many people would not know it, but I, as an accountant who has done a lot of those taxes for people, the persons who were renting, let's say somebody's working, a head teacher or a police officer who has a house and they're renting their downstairs for residential purposes, or they have an extra house renting for residential purposes, or somebody who builds a house and is renting. First of all, the government increased the income, the interest you can claim to 25,000. So
let's explain it carefully for people that may not be aware.
Let me try to explain. If you have a mortgage of say $400,000, and the interest you would pay on that mortgage in a particular year is $30,000, the first $25,000 you get it, you getting it back. The government is giving it back to you. So all you have to pay is $5,000, because because, right? All you have to pay, you will have to pay tax on the $5,000 and not basically because you're claiming back the $25,000. Right. And then the rent, by separating the rent income for residential purposes, taking it out from your ordinary income. For example, if you had somebody getting $20,000, let's say, let's put it there, about say $40,000 a year. That is your salary.
Yes.
So they would after you take out your 40,000 residential allowance, so you will only be paying tax on 10,000. But if you have rental income, you would have to add the rental income to that $10,000, and that would put you in a much higher tax bracket. You understand? So what the government is doing is keep your salary at the lower tax bracket, and on the rent you're paying, the rent you're receiving, just pay a flat 20,000 or a flat 20% after you remove all your expenses. You understand?
Yeah.
So you do not. So the rent income does not put you in a higher tax bracket. So that was a very. So that means it put more money into the pocket of the persons who rent in, who have residential houses, and it also put more money in persons who have a second mortgage. So somebody has a mortgage, a house, where they live in. They get some money, they win the lottery, or they do whatever it is, and they build another house to rent for residential housing. The government is giving you $15,000 out of that second mortgage you build as the interest. They're giving you back $15,000, and on your first house, the interest they're giving you back $25,000. So that is putting more money into your pocket, and the rent for the houses is taxed independently. You don't have to add it to your income, your normal income. So and then that is very, very good, and I have seen a lot of persons benefit significantly. Sometimes when they come to me in my office to do their taxes and they have rent and things, so when you explain to them what is happening and they see for themselves what is happening, how significant benefit to them. They didn't understanding what is happening in this, and that is a significant thing that the government had done during last year.
Indeed, and that those are the little things, Clarence, that make a difference. Every year, the government goes to Parliament and it passes the budget, and I mean, increasing of the threshold, for example, now to 40% who earn $30,000 will no longer pay immediate income tax. All of these policies are policies that impact directly on the lives and the working class in Dominica. So again, we're really looking forward to this year's budget. We will be able to speak a lot more about the budget when Prime Minister Dr. Skerrit make his presentation on the 28th of July 2021 in our parliament right here in the Commonwealth of Dominica. So again, yes, we highlighted tonight the major piece of infrastructure, which is $75 million that will be invested in the airport. Out of that, definitely there will be a number of other important mentions that will come in the budget as to other areas of capital investment that the government continue to focus its attention on. So July 28th is the big day for Dominica, when we will take Dominica again to another level, where the commencement of the international airport will begin. This is not a pie in the sky, people. This is not an election gimmick. This is not something that the Labour Party is doing because it's about to call election tomorrow. This is a Labour katwavai. Your government is working. This is nothing like what we saw under the UWP when they came and waved blue socks in the Windsor Park Stadium, or where they was in Roseau Central there, and make a plain land and Kione Dominicans. You understand? They actually think they were cornering us. We call it corner, fooling us. And but you probably got corner no PS. Dominicans were wiser than that and realized that this government was wrong for the country, and we changed them. And since the advent of the Dominica Labour Party, we see Dominica take a different level. More so after Prime Minister Skerrit came in and decided to take a different approach like we have never seen in this country. Dominica continued to excel. And there are those in the opposition now, which brings me to the second part of our discussion here tonight. Yes. Yeah, but Clarence.
On that budget, I would have loved to see, the budget speech is normally the Prime Minister, it's only when he delivers the speech you know what is going to be in. But the real thing, which is the estimates, I think Dominica is one of the, if it's not the only country where the estimate itself is not debated in Parliament. In most of the other islands, there's a specialty to debate the estimates, so people can know what is in the estimate. Or the opposition will say we need more in this. Why don't this decrease this? This type of things. But we don't. Our laws don't facilitate that process in Dominica.
But as you said that there, let's just have a little discussion on that, because I listened to the Parliament and I'm not sure whether the focus is really on it actually. But when the budget is presented, and when the budget is presented, they do have debates over some of the policies and various things that are presented in the budget. They do talk about allocations for this, allocations for. I mean, there is a debate ongoing on that. I don't know what exactly if you would
but you hardly hear because when especially the opposition, you hardly hear them take the estimate and say go on page so and so and.
Well, now you're talking.
This is what it is. So people do not know what is the amount allocated for this except. You need more.
Well, Prime Minister Skerrit,
the debate in the House. Should be taken more instead of it's more on a political twist, because if the opposition come with their politics, the government side have to respond, and with the time within you respond to them with their politics, but you don't find much of a debate on the estimate itself. So the people that are not properly the populace, in my view, that's my view, are not properly educated on the actual inclusion of the estimate, what is in the estimate, right? So that is why I think we need to have more education, to take the estimate and say, this is what is being spent for education, this is the allocation, and how it is broken down by heads and so on.
Following Prime Minister Skerrit, Dr. Skerrit's presentation in the Parliament, obviously he will outline on the 28th all of the aspect of the 90 plus, the $900 plus million that is expected to be spent, and the various heads and department and ministries, line ministries, where this sum will be spent. As you said, the opposition, they never look at these things because they don't want to highlight those things, because these are important things that that shows the government is doing, good things on behalf of the citizens of Dominica. So they will obviously come with their, I prefer to ask questions about some other fugitive or something like that, rather than look at the important, things that will impact on the people. But no doubt, Clarence, the debate will continue after the budget. We will be discussing, some of those things, and I expect with your expertise that you will examine this report, and like anything else, we will speak about them, and like we have done for some of the other areas that, as I said, that were implemented during the course of this past year. So Prime Minister Skerrit, again, as I said, we look forward to the budget on the 28th. It's already 9:42. And before we open up the lines, just want to touch on another issue there. While we speak about all of those important things that are happening in Dominica, the important investment that the government continue to make in its citizens and the country, the manner in which this country is managed, as a peaceful country. Violence is something that we know of as something that have only been, how should I say it? The only political organization that have seen violence as something it encouraged is the opposition UWP. There are many examples that we can think back upon without I having to play them for you tonight that would show you that we are dealing with a political organization where violence is the order of the day for them, because that's what they preach. We must remove Mrs. Carrot by any means necessary. What does that mean? You know, what are they saying when they say these things to their people? They go on their programs and they use all kind of names and all kind of ways to refer to people. You know, call people thief, call people all kind of names. They do these things on their program. No evidence, nothing to prove any of the things that they're saying, but they say it anyway, and they feel they have a freedom and a right to say it. Nobody is taking their right. Nobody is preventing them. Some people even believe that there should be laws and there should be ways to enforce, people, laws against them for some of the things that they say so freely on their radio programs every day. Many elections we have run, and it brings us to a point where every time the DLP wins an election, with the exception of the 1999-2000 election, when Edison James and his gang went and accepted defeat because they were on Mapping News. I saw them looking, like as if they had lost weight within a matter of 2 days or 1 day of having heard that they had lost the election. Fellas come out from 100 and 200 pounds to 150 pounds. I mean, you could see they were looking real defeated after they came out and worshipped the sun over there in Point Millat. The sun didn't work for them because it backfired on them. They were pagans. So this political organization now, and I'm saying this in the context of dealing with some of what I hear in Dominica, but I've been promoted. We heard this statement recently of Nicholas George, after the event in Haiti, one that we raised on our program. And more so recently, I'm hearing the so-called acting, or I don't know how to call him anymore, but what they call the Kingdom Connection program, with a former member of the UWP, Peter Carbon, who obviously migrated from Dominica, but praying for maybe when UWP win that he can come back to Dominica. Join in with this so-called group that of people who refer to themselves as men of God, because they refer to themselves. I can't tell you if they are. I ain't God. I can't judge them. But they refer to themselves as men of God. And the Bible says you can know what they are by the fruits that they bear. And so it tells us how we can also, in our own judgment, look at them. But they have been making some statements about violence. One where they're claiming that the people of this country, I'll play that for you, because I don't like to really say what they just say, because they can only say the things they just say better than me. But there is the same line of Nicholas George, and they're talking about it will happen very soon because Dominica is divided. And Dominica is to divide it. But they are putting that division now as if it is a division being caused by the Labour Party. The truth about it is, these people must accept and understand that the DLP do not promote violence. We have never asked anybody to commit any act of violence against the country, against any citizen of the country. The only people who say that no Dominicans cannot land in any port of entry in Dominica is the UWP. They are the ones. They say they will prevent them from landing whether Roseau, whether Portsmouth, from every port. The only people that have encouraged people to go at the Douglas Charles Airport to try to prevent citizens from coming in to Dominica to demonstrate their God-given right is the opposition UWP. They caused damage to over $2 million at the Douglas Charles Airport, the equipments, and we saw what happened in the previous election when they tried to prevent bishop, cardinal, priest, pastor, citizens, pregnant women from having their right to move from one place to another by trying to burn down the country, because why? They would want to get into election by any means necessary. Following which, the refusal, and I hope Rodney and others listening tonight, the refusal of the opposition to accept and concede defeat Because that's a fundamental part about uniting the citizens after a general election. Yes, we have our election. Yes, we campaign and we campaign hard. But when the citizens of the country goes to vote and they choose a government by giving the government 18 seats, that cannot be a mistake. That cannot be a mistake when over 3 or 4 or 5 election observers, many people came in, even with the violence that was taking place in Dominica, to witness the election. And they saw the violence prior to the election, and immediately following the violence the next day, they saw that the people went to vote and they voted peacefully. Those were their remarks. It was the will of the people. But yet still, there is a refusal by the opposition, UWP, to concede defeat, therefore keeping their followers with a high level of ignorance, believing that something was stolen from them. Now, when they continue to promote that sort of a discussion, they're keeping the ignorance continuing, and people believing that, you know, this election was not free, it was not fair. They tried many times to go to court with these elections issues and fail. So who is keeping who ignorant in Dominica? It's not the Labour Party, because 18 constituencies cannot be wrong. The Electoral Commission and the Electoral Office cannot get 18 constituencies wrong, Monsieur. And even when the UWP go to court with those issues, they lose. That is why they choose to go through the criminal route, to take private citizens to run what was really a fraud on the people to collect their money, you know, knowing that they can't go nowhere with that. No evidence to prove what they were saying. But they continue to lead people with a level of ignorance as if election was stolen. And so that ignorance, we have been living with it in Dominica, Rodney and Jack and those in the UWP. We have been living with it in Dominica because it was brought along by the UWP failure to respect the constitution of the country, to respect the rule of law in the country, to think that they can take the law into their hands. That is what Linton said to the people back in February when he stood up and told them they have more power than the police. They don't hire the police. They have more power than the government. They have more power than the people in power. He meant that they could take action into their hands. An action that we saw they demonstrated by destroying private and public property in the city of Roseau. Today, we heard the statement recently made by the so-called man who, according to one of the constituents, may have beat a priest. When you beat a priest, you should know what happens next. So, bush falling on you, as the people would have told us before, limiere. You know, you say, limiere. So, the man the limiere fall on goes on to say that the people, and I want to play a statement again tonight as I play what the others say. That's how serious we want to deal with that, because, you know, we'll take nothing for granted in that political organization. Listen to that here.
I have said it before and I'm saying it again. This denial of the citizenry to justice in Dominica through the institutions set up to bring justice to the citizenry will result in the citizenry taking their justice. They will take their justice. They will gain their justice. They will decide and define their justice. When they do that, it will come in direct confrontation with the laws of Dominica and the people enforcing the law. It is in the view or the mind, maybe in the view and the mind of the chief of police, that he has sufficient police officers to suppress an angry people. He has sufficient firearms and ammunition to suppress an angry people. And therefore, the political directorate on Roosevelt Skerritt's side are seemingly dependent on that force. I am warning. There aren't sufficient police officers, and the and sufficient firearms or ammunition to suppress an angry people if they rise when they feel that they have no recourse but to take action to bring justice to themselves, the citizenry of Dominica, and the nation state of Dominica. I am saying to the chief of police, this is a question you asked me, now is the time to make an assessment of the political heat that is in Dominica.
So Nicholas George, as you know, the police did go to his home, and he was not there. I ain't sure why he was not at his home, if he slept out. But the police didn't catch him anyway at the time. So he said he would have turned himself in. So he now made that statement. He claimed that, whatever he claimed, but he made that statement. But I'm listening this week again. And you see, sometimes you have to look for patterns in things. These guys, they have turned the people with a high level of ignorance. And they're playing in the minds of their listeners. Jack and Rodney and Peter Carbon, they will sit at their homes and they will not be the ones doing the things that they claiming will happen, but they're waiting for people to do it, like how people went and burned the tower after Linton sit down and tell them they must go there and stop Dominicans. They must go there on the airport. They want to say they will go on the runway. Listen to something at the exchange between Rodney and the Peter Carbon. Peter Carbon, as I said, was a representative for the UWP in the parliament and in the cabinet. Listen to an exchange between them, and let's discuss that a bit.
In Dominica, we have the same race, same culture, same everything. But we're trying to create two group of people. I mean, we had a division between the mulatto and the children of slaves.
Right.
But no, what we have is the children of slaves trying to divide the children and have two sets. It's really hurtful, eh? I mean, people don't see it now, but that's going to last for a very, very long time, and that's spelled disaster for our country.
Peter, the disaster
So
is the disaster is already there, and that's my worry. The division it is already there. We are at the brink. Let me tell you, my honest view is, one of those days, when like the fellow from Granby had said, Granby in a pressure cooker, one of those days, when that explode in Dominica, I will not be surprised that we get into civil war. And you'll wonder who is fighting who. It will be my black brother fighting me because he's of a particular political party and I'm of the next party. My only consolation is what God has taught, and that is the people who sow it will reap it. But it's already there.
Yeah. But the thing is, you can't recover from it. That's the problem, you know. When you have that, the country, look, I mean, I was listening to a commentary on Haiti, and Haiti problem is lack of institutions.
That's right.
They destroy the country so bad that they have got no institution to work with. Even if a government from outside want to work with the country, they have got an institution.
That's right.
And that's why it's important to respect institutions and maintain our institutions. So I mean, we're in trouble. And unless the leaders, I don't call political leaders, or local leaders, or village councils, or church leaders, or really come back and decide, look, this is it. We need to work to bring that country together. You know, we will have civil war in Dominica very soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you and good night.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, Lawrence.
Simeon, you know, some guys are really what I would say intellectual. Well, is dishonesty. I don't know if they are intellectuals, but this is total dishonesty. The fact of the matter is, and you mentioned it earlier, is that the opposition party includes people like Randy Rodney and Jack. I call him Charleston because he's from Pichelin, right? Have not come to their senses that the opposition lost the election freely and fairly, squarely. Simeon, if Randy Rodney, he has some sense, and he supports the opposition party, immediately after the election or a week or two, he would say, guys, let's come together and let us do a post-mortem to see how we'll actually lose the election, or why we lose the election. So because they keep on saying the election is stolen, they believe, they try to let their listeners believe that the election was in fact stolen. But Simeon, if you look at the pattern of elections, in last election in the UWP in 9 constituencies got 600 and less votes in 9 constituencies. That means they are not competitive in 9 constituencies. They have no the Labour Party has absolutely no competition in 9 constituencies. So you mean out of 12 constituencies the Labour Party can put its resources and win 2 more? 11 you need to form the government? When your opponent is not competitive in 9 constituencies, and in the other and in another 5 there is very little competition. In another 5 there is very little competition. So they have not accepted the fact they lost freely and fairly, and they cannot win an election. Take a seat like Granby or Portsmouth. What work the UWP? These are strongholds of the Dominica Labour Party. But what work you have done in those strongholds to give you a semblance of any competition in those constituencies? So you see, the violence they're preaching is coming from them, and they can easily stem it by telling their supporters, look, guys, we lost, and we lost fairly and squarely. Period. But all it takes is to tell your people,
yes,
you lost the election, you have been losing election, you have not been doing the work on the ground. So take my constituency, the Peter Savant constituency. If I ask anybody from Pichelin or from Bellevue, or I go to Fonseca, do you see any opposition party candidate or things to come in and find out how you living, how you doing, how you thinking? They will tell you, well, since election night, we have not seen the person who won the last election. So 6 months before an election, you send a candidate, and then you expect that candidate to make anything. If you go to St. Joseph, ask them when last they see Monel Williams walk the streets in St. Joseph. Just a simple question. Go to St. Joseph and ask when last you see a candidate of the United Workers' Party walk the streets. So you cannot... So unless you, the opposition, disagree and tell their supporters, look, we lost, and we lost fairly, and we lost clearly, they are going to have in their mind that dishonest thing that people are being violated and laws are being violated and the opposition is being violated. But what I will tell them is that there will never be another 1978 coup. Again, it will not happen in Dominica, because Roosevelt Skerrit, the Prime Minister, Dr. Skerrit, is not going to follow the same path. Ignore the base of the party as happened the last time.
Yes, sir. Clarence, we have senior counsel in the house, but oh shit. Continue, Clarence. Let me see if I can bring in senior counsel. So I suspect I may have missed him there.
What happened with the overthrow of Patrick is that he had ignored the base. He had a group of people around him. I said the last already. And you can know those of them who are around him. And those persons who put him there, who he loved, he was a very loved person. And they allowed him to ignore the base. So when the Freedom Party rose up, the base itself could not come out because they were depressed. But this is not going to happen again in the Labour Party. That is why you say you're hearing about civil war.
Yes.
What is the reason why they're talking about civil war? Because they know the Labour Party will not stand by and allow a revolution or a coup or an overthrow to take place.
Let's bring Senior Counsel on that subject there and many other discussions that we've had. Senior Counsel, good evening to you, my brother. Welcome. Are you there with me?
Good evening, man.
Yes. Good evening.
Comrade.
Yes.
Let's leave that Civil War nonsense alone.
Yes.
Okay. Because these fellas are there tying up their testicles in a twist about their lack of movement on the ground, and they're creating this fabrication, right? And this constant venom, including that rattlesnake Rodney, that nasty piece of work that professes to be a pastor of the Lord. These guys are peddling hate, peddling evil, peddling poison, and they're listening to their own supporters recycling their garbage, and they believe there's civil strife with the country. Bossman, to hell with them. All right, I want to focus on the central issues.
Yes,
right?
Senor.
I understand my guesswork is that the Prime Minister's central piece for this budget address is going to be the international airport.
Yes.
And a number of other different social economic projects and capital expenditure that is going to be of critical importance to him and to the country moving forward. Okay?
Yes.
And I think that budget has the potential of a significant propulsion forward again. I mean, we're talking about the Minister of Finance for the fiscal year 2021-2022. After a year of sufferation and struggle with COVID, is going to seek Parliament's approval to appropriate some $993.6 million for the consolidated fund.
Yes.
And of that amount, 438.9 million is allocated to the government's public sector investment program. That is $500 million that is going to be expended in the public sector investment program. And that's important for the second part of what I want to say about the micro growth, the grassroots growth among the rural working class public classes who utilize the various credit unions as their banking system, right? I'll get to that in a minute.
Yes.
And that expenditure is going to be, from what I gathered from the press release that I read, towards the continued diversification and transformation of the airport, of the economy, which is why one of the first things you said today that I accepted is that now that the capital plant, and we saw some fantastic pictures coming out of Anichi. I don't know if that's the street that my brother Alec Lawrence is going to name after PM or after me. But it's a fantastic piece of work.
Yes, indeed.
And I want to congratulate my brother Alec Lawrence with great love and respect. Right? And that the international airport is going to be like the rocket these billionaires use to go to space. Right? It's going to have an enormous effect through payment of compensation, that's money in hand, construction, that's jobs at hand, and so on. And even before this airport's construction has started in earnest, we are being told by the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica that come December, we are going to have direct flights from Miami to Douglas Charles Airport.
Yes.
Right? Before the international airport has started. And brother, for me and for the hundreds, if not thousands, who live in the diaspora now, getting the opportunity now, this year, 2021, and for the years to come until the airport will be constructed so larger planes can come, to have direct Pekka and them fellas must be going nuts in Miami now.
I know.
These guys are going, and my friends Patrick and Roy and Lester, these guys are going to want to come down every weekend now.
I can imagine.
Right? We're having direct flights.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I read the release that the Prime Minister sent to us, I had to read it again.
Yes.
American Airlines. I had to put on my binoculars. That's a phenomenal step forward. It's a phenomenal step forward, not just for returning Dominicans and Dominicans who want to travel on business, but for tourists. They now don't have to go to Barbados or Antigua or Guadeloupe or Martinique or St. Lucia. All they need to do is start off from Miami directly into Dominica. I think the Prime Minister and the government needs a round of applause.
Indeed.
Right?
Indeed.
And from what I understand as well, the Prime Minister is going to propose to Parliament a number of new policy measures, which he and the Cabinet believes will bring additional economic benefits to the people of this country. And many of them followed feedback and consultation with the citizens, residents, and the private sector, and so on. So I am looking forward to it because the Prime Minister is, when it comes to these matters, is an extraordinarily transparent fellow. And from what I've heard in his last Anupale thing when he was talking about the budget, I thought it was good news that nothing was said about the possibility of new taxes.
Yes. That was
I don't
critical.
know what the Prime Minister is going to say, but if the Prime Minister maintains that position and continues the 1 year test or experiment with the reduction of transfer fees for the purchase of land, we will see how it will go. But as I said, these are exciting times.
Yes, indeed.
Then I get goosebumps talking to my friends about the development of my country. When I tell people about the wellness centers and the hospitals and the hotels and the schools and the roads and the direct assistance to the poor and to the vulnerable. My brother, fellas look at me in astonishment.
Yes, I know.
Especially in that country of yours, there, St. Lucia. Fellas had a long discussion one day about Shasta spending CBI money on a horse track.
Yes, I remember that.
And the hospital, St. George collapsing.
Yes.
On the one bubbles after the other. And here we are just smooth sailing forward.
I'm telling you.
And people are saying nothing's happening. Come on, let me tell you something, right? I recall, what did I do with that? I recall when the National Cooperative Credit Union celebrated crossing the $500 million mark. And I thought that was extraordinary because that came in 2017.
Yes, around there.
And I went back on the credit union website and I pulled up the 2019 report. Now, I'm not an economist, but I can read basic figures, right? And there's a figure 2 on page 7. Growth in savings and ordinary deposits between 2010 and 2019. Comrade, in 2016, I'm not going to start from 2010, which was 174. Let me start from 2010. And I'm rounding off the figure at 175 million.
Right.
By 2014, 4 years later, it had crossed $270 million. Another 3 years, 2017, it had crossed $336 million. That's growth in savings and ordinary deposits at a national cooperative credit union. In 2019, it was $384+ million. And I thought that was an extraordinary growth. You know why?
Tell us.
Erica was in 2015. The total was 234 plus. When I say plus, I mean plus 683,000 and so on.
Right.
So I'm rounding it off at 234 million.
Right.
The following year of Erica, 2060, was 269. Erica hit us in 2017, September, so that we can say that's late, 336 million. Growth in deposits, right? 2018, the year after Erica, it went up to 372 million. That's almost $50 million. 336 to 375, 340, 30-something million. 2019, it went from 372 to 384. Now, I'm not stupid. If I'm saving money, it means I'm making money.
Right.
And if I'm saving money, it means that I'm making more money than I need to spend. And every single year from 2010, the National Cooperative Credit Union have had increases in savings and ordinary deposits. Every single year. In fact, there's a note on the side that says that members' savings and deposits increased by $12+ million between 2018 and 2019. $12 million increase in deposits and savings from members. 12 million in a year. Not in a commercial bank. In a national cooperative credit union. Then I came across, interestingly enough, the West Coast Cooperative Credit Union 2020 annual report. And it was astonishing what I saw. In the report at page 10, main performance indicator. As the financial statements and other ratios indicate, the society grew in 2020. The growth is especially important. That's not from the Ministry of Finance. That's from the persons who prepared the report for the credit. It's especially important since it came at a time when the national and global economies were reeling under the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Members were creative in rebuilding their livelihoods. That means doing work. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm listening to you loud and clear.
Rebuilding their livelihoods mean creative ways of finding means of making money. Whether jobs, selling food, agriculture, construction, and so on. The key growth indicators were total assets increased by 6.3%. Originated loans by 1.5%, members' capital by 5%, equity by 24.4%, retained earnings by 31%, and members' savings by 4.5%. As one of the most important indicators, the growth in total assets presented comparatively over the last 5 years. In 2016, it was $30 million. $30,247,997 in 2016. That's the year after Maria. Erica. You know what it was in 2020?
Tell us what it was.
46, is it 46 or 48? Hold on. It's either 46 or 48. My copy came out badly done. A 16 or 18 million dollar growth between 2016 and 2020. That's the West Coast Cooperative Credit Union, Salisbury, St. Joe, and that line. That's just one cooperative credit union. 2020 performance indicator. They made $1.1 million surplus before appropriation. The total assets of the West Coast Cooperative Credit Union, cash at bank balances, financial assets at amortized costs. You know what? You know how much the financial assets at amortized costs is?
How much is it?
$52,132,506. Property, plant, and equipment, $1.2 million. Total assets, $46,889,317. A 6.3% increase from the last year, 2019. And 2020 was the year of COVID.
Yes.
And there was an increase of $3 million. $3 million in the total assets of the Cooperative Credit Union. Member savings and deposits. That's like going to move from the bank and go to a credit union. $31,750,954. An increase of over $1 million from the year before. An increase of over $1 million from a year that had no COVID. In the year of COVID, not $1 million, what am I saying? $3 million. 43 million to 46 million is 3 million, not 1 million. No, sorry, I'm mixing up total assets with member savings. 30 million in 2019, 31,750 compared to 30,319. So the West Coast Credit Union had a significant increase in savings and deposits in the year of COVID over the year before. And when you add all of the other indicators that we have, Simeon, the fiscal data at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, and so on, contributions to Social Security, this country is doing fine. This country is doing fine. Real fine, I find. So I don't know what they're saying about nothing's happening.
Yes.
When the credit unions, and I keep referring to them as the grassroots, the farmers, the working class, the public servants, financial structure, are growing every year.
Yes, yes.
If the economy is bad and people are losing jobs and businesses are closing and unemployment and poverty are high, you're not going to get the level of savings that are taking place in these institutions. You're not going to get it.
Right, right.
You're not going to get it. Anyway, guys, I have to go.
No, but before you leave senior
Go
council,
ahead.
yeah, I mean, you're on target. I mean, this is one of the points that we continue to raise about the major capital investment and the investments that are being made by this government, on an annual basis, more so as we have heard of the passage of billions of dollars budget being passed by this government. This is the net impact of it. And you have those who believe that, that Dominicans, and you hear that from the opposition, like, oh, it's only foreigners benefiting from everything that's happening in Dominica. Dominicans are not benefiting, like as if, they don't see the people who go to work every day. I mean,
sorry to cut you off there. Yeah. One of the questions that you have to ask them, right, is how many foreigners are in the credit union? How many foreigners? Listen, boss man, let me tell you something, right? I spend a little more time with you. Yes. I spend a little more time with you. Let me tell you something. Right? Let me tell you something. A couple months ago, the Prime Minister told us the Haitians, a minority in our country, a small group of persons, repatriated to Haiti $21 million.
In 1 year.
In 1 year.
Right.
$21 million in 1 year. $21 million in 1 year.
In 1 year.
And when you look at the data from the various credit unions, people are saving money.
Yes. Cash is flowing there.
And when they keep saying foreigners are benefiting, when you look at the increases of persons that have registered at the Social Security for work and whose contributions are being paid, I mean, who are they?
The contractors currently working at on the projects in the Wesley Woodford Hill area, all local contractors building these homes.
Not just that, one local contractor, Tony Libla, who's festering with ignorance and so on, got over $10 million on one project.
And still get it.
$10 million in one project. He's not a foreign company. These guys are, how should I put it? They are creating a fiction. They are creating a fiction of them versus us, foreigner versus local. I mean, if you want to take that argument to its extraordinary extreme, Gabriel Christian and Irvin Andre and all the doctors overseas living in the diaspora and working there, at teaching at universities and doing all sorts of things should come back home. We live in an integrated world. When you travel to these islands, do you know how many Dominicans are in senior positions at commercial banks in the OECD?
You can imagine.
Do you know how many Dominicans are at the CDB and at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank? Do you have any idea?
I'm sure we have a number of people.
There was a time when 3 or 4 major banks, two or three of the major banks had senior Dominicans in management positions. Whether it is St. Kitts, Antigua, Dominica, St. Lucia. How do I know? I met them.
You can come Montserrat.
Yeah, and Senior Counsel said, my friend Clarence said you can come Montserrat.
You mean senior auditor?
Senior auditor. Let me say, Senior Counsel, as you mentioned that day, it's interesting, that as you mentioned the ECCB, that there is a news item where Dominica's Valda Henry appointed ECCB's first female deputy governor. Just mentioning that, yeah, in light of what you're saying, yes.
I saw that. Well, we have a general secretary at PAHO.
Yes.
Who's Dominican. I just don't know what to say.
I mean, it's just ridiculous, the things that they come up with to try to bend the people's mind in a particular direction that can be negative against Dominica, and they are the ones who. That's why I talk about the kind of violence that they are professing every day, hoping that one day it would materialize in their quest to get into power. All on lies, Nothing factual to present to the people, but all lies. Yes.
The problem that these fellows have is that we have a prime minister and a cabinet that is focused, that has transformed this country in a significant and substantial way. You just have to drive around the country, and Dominica has a sense of liberated feeling, exhaling, breathing fresh air about it. Homes, jobs, education, health, poverty. The heart and soul of this Labour Party success, right? Is that rather than dancing with SCL and all sorts of foreign deviance and whatever else you want to call it, the government and the Prime Minister stayed focused on simple issues of alleviating the standard of living for the people of the country. Yes, we care. I will, as long as I live, never forget the videos and the voices and the tears. Pit latrine eradication, home repairs. I'm talking about long before Maria now.
Yes.
Access to potable water, eliminating the fees at the hospital. Building the state college, educating, getting people educated, giving them dignity, giving them humanity, giving them a right, even if it's not a constitutional right, giving them a national right to be able to participate in self-development with assistance from the government. And what is the opposition's position? Prostitutes, beggars, mendicants. There's no other way.
I know.
We're going to budget debates.
Yes.
And all you hear is idiocy. No structure, no constructive rebuttal, no alternative plan. You have a hospital being built in your constituency. You have a hospital being built in your constituency, and you show no interest in it. Maria comes, nobody gets help. Erica comes, nobody gets help. COVID comes, nobody gets help. You turn your back on them, but all you're doing is running a fundraising cartel.
Yes.
Raising money for you and the boys and for legal cases and so on. Trotsky ends up on our shores and you become the vanguard for Trotsky. You file 20 election petition cases, all thrown out. You file criminal complaints against 15 members of DPP. Looked at it and said this. It's garbage, man. I mean, that's my language, not that. It's pure garbage.
Yes.
There's no evidence there. There's nothing to justify a prosecution or a conviction. And rather than look in the mirror and accept responsibility, rather than have a constructive, proactive discussion, where have we gone wrong? I mean, it's not to say that these things just in 2005 they had a senior counsel from Guyana. I forgot his name now. In one of the parliamentary cases, in one of the parliamentary cases that we did against Edison James for we responded, they had Archibald QC from the BVI.
Mm-hmm.
In the 29 election petitions, they had Douglas Mendez.
Yes.
I'm assuming for the 2014 matters, they had guidance from somebody I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
2019, they have Edison James's daughter. And there's no self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
When we do things, when I do things on behalf of the government and it doesn't go well, the first thing we do is have a post-mortem and a discussion.
Right. Right.
And then brief the Prime Minister, well, we did our best, or we may have made a mistake here,
Mm-hmm.
or there's something that we should have done differently.
Mm-hmm.
We don't go and curse the court.
No.
We don't go and curse the DPP and anybody else. Bossman, I mean, we just have to accept that we have a responsibility to the country, and these fellows want to just burn it to the ground with lies. And what troubles me, those who facilitate or condone or ratify or give good graces to the lies are people in churches. The Catholic Church, the Rattlesnake Radley, people in the private sector, business people who have some beef against Roosevelt Skerrit. I don't know why anybody would want to beef with Roosevelt Skerrit. I have spent an extraordinary amount of time with Roosevelt, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. And if I find one fault on him is that he's too patient. He's just too patient and tolerant.
Yes.
And so we have to move from that and realize that what we have on the other side, leading that sector of our society, is a pathological liar. A man who has demonized people. I mean, can you imagine calling one of the leading jurists in the world and in the Commonwealth and the president of a country? You're so deeply offended that State House was being built for him as a black man, a dark black man from Granby. And you had the guts to put pen to paper to refer to him as a Dominican born and bred black country bookie, using the language of our colonial and racist oppressors.
Yes. Yes.
And they want to say that I am a bigot. And every time it's a fiction. The 1.2 billion, my opinion, where's the evidence of the thing? It's in his head. Where is the evidence of the government selling diplomatic passports? He's asked by Huffington Post, or selling passports under the table. His response is that Sticky Fingers got a tip. And unfortunately, we have to deal with him and all of the garbage that he and his United Workers' Party has brought into our life and into our land and into our culture and our politics. But let me tell you a joke before I leave, right? How politics has changed, how the venom has replaced cordiality, humanity, Christianity, and friendship. Dame Eugenia Charles, of blessed memory, as Prime Minister, right, said something about my dear and great and departed friend, Michael Douglas. And Michael sued, but got me to write the letter, threatening to sue. And one day I get a phone call. Astafari, this is Jack Day here. Now, Jack Day was one of the leading lawyers in the Caribbean from Barbados, Jack Day QC.
Yes.
He said, I need to talk to you, young man. For what? Well, the Prime Minister of your country is my good friend, and she asked me to come here and deal with this case for her and so. So where do I meet you? Give me somebody's house on Picard Estate there where Anichi Hotel is. So I drive up there. The man in his khaki short pants and vest cooking food. And by the time I left there with the man, and I went on my way home to talk to Mike, the matter was resolved. No animosity, no mudslinging, no nastiness, no denigration. These people said things about each other, but they never carried malice.
Right.
They never carried an axe to stick in somebody's back. They would be strong, but never insultive to each other.
Right.
In 1985, when I was staying by Mike's home, I don't know if Ian will remember that, right? The Freedom Party motorcade came outside to Portsmouth. I remember seeing Ozzy Walsh, Jenna Amo, and others in it. And Michael Douglas and I stayed in front of his home while that massive Freedom Party motorcade passed. Throwing peacock. When the truck stopped and music dancing, Freedom Party ladies came out and danced with Michael and I. Chatting, giving me a drink, passing drink and so on. You think today, Prime Minister Skerritt and I, or any person in a Labour t-shirt could stand on the side of the road today and watch a United Workers' Party motorcade pass without some violence flaring up?
Oh boy, I tell you.
Michael and I were in the road and people stood and danced with us in front of Michael's home. Michael was the leader of the opposition and the leader of the party at the time. One day we must try it, Simeon.
I can imagine.
I'll meet you after it. I'm just trying to tell you how our humanity and culture have changed because these evil men came into politics out of greed. They didn't come to serve. They came in there for power and greed. And Bernard Wiltshire, one of the few sensible statements he's ever made, the problem with the United Workers' Party was greed.
Yes.
They were greedy.
Greed. They were driven by that.
And that has destroyed a significant sector of our society. In all the years I spent with Michael and Rosie and the Labour Party,
yes,
I don't recall ever being cursed by a Freedom Party supporter. But workers see me in town. It's like Scud missiles coming out of their eyes. That's who we have to deal with, comrade.
Yes.
That's who we have to deal with.
Yes.
Anyway, I trust that's the end of it for me.
Thank you, Senior Counsel. Thank you for your contribution here. Yes, Terrence.
Simeon, what Tony said, the final statement he said there, I mean, I can give you examples of this. Stanley Fedel running for Freedom Party in the Pitt-Savant constituency. And Labour Party has a candidate in the Pitt-Savant constituency, either with the Courier or whoever it is in the constituency. We lose. And we lose bad. And the very same night of the election, we by Stanley Fedel eating and drinking.
Do you know what I mean?
Labor rights and freedom rights, we all by Stanley Fedel. You feel bad, but they will give you a little, we beat you again, and this type of thing you get. Yes. We beat you again, and people like Angelo Elwin and things, so they would come and say, well, we beat you again, and I think so. But we all celebrating together, drinking. You think that can happen? You think UWP winning an election, you can stand up on the road in Largo while they're passing?
And that's it. It's like I was looking at the British elections one of those times there, where they were calling the candidates. And a number of the candidates stand up together when they announce the winner. I mean, it's like, you can see people are still together. They understand that the will of the people. The will of the people, is primary. And where the will of the people is, you cannot mess with that. Yes, you go into the competition knowing that
you go to win, Simeon.
That-
Is your jugular. You go to win. You want to win. I mean, that's what you want to do. You want to win. Nobody wants to lose. But when the time come and you lose, you lose. You go back to your thing and say you go back to your base, sad as you are. 2 days, 3 days later, you call your team together.
Yes.
And then you set up your plan in motion. You look to first thing you do. Why we lose? How we lose?
You acknowledge, but you
acknowledge.
concede.
You concede defeat. Of course, you concede
But
defeat.
you have to accept that you lose.
You concede defeat. You tell the people of Dominica you wish them well.
Right.
You wish the government well. You accept defeat.
Right.
In your sadness, in your thing.
Right.
You call your team together 2-3 days later, a week later. You sit down, have a 2-day, Saturday, Sunday post-mortem. Go through the entire election constituency by constituency. Look at your strengths. Look at your weaknesses. Look at how you manage to lose, what you do. Look at the results, what you did in the.
But they're not taking that route, my brother.
But even when Labour Party winning,
yeah.
A few days later, we all go and we do a post-mortem and see how strong we were in this constituency. Could we do better? Even in Grand Bay, we saying we could have done better.
But
we should have done better.
You see, the UWP prefers to take the route they take in because it keeps their people in a high level of ignorance. The opposition leader strives on that level of ignorance, and they are hoping that it can take root as a cancer because they are peddling, that lie on a simple basis, and that's one of the reasons why I said that those who believe that Dominica, a peaceful country like Dominica, where they want to call for violence in the country, are doing so, in a true form of negligence, because they absolutely know that that the fault is really on the side of the opposition, which they defend. Let's take a call on the overseas line there. Overseas line call, good evening to you, overseas line.
Good evening, my friend. What's happening?
Hey, good evening, my brother. I'm good, thank you, and you, man?
Good. Clarence, what's up, my brother?
Good night, man. Good night. How you doing?
Good. Simeon, why do you think the GWP takes that approach?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that when they lose an election, they come up with every excuse why they lost, and they always accuse Labour Party of cheating this story election? Why do you think that?
Tell us, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, you see, the leader. We say leadership matters, right? The leader of any organization sets the culture for a party.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And if the leader is a lazy individual who doesn't take time to prepare anything, who is unable to analyze anything, right? Whose only strength is to use his large mouth to accuse and defame and lie. What do you think will happen to the party?
Yes.
Right? Yes. Because the reason why that is so, Simeon, is Lennox Linton does not know what it is to work hard. You see, what you all are explaining there and what you are saying they should do is too much work for him. But the man told you so.
Yeah.
Told you so. When you see he spoke to Joshua Francis, before Joshua Francis couldn't, before he called Joshua Francis saying he taking too much time.
Yes.
His man already made up.
Yeah, you don't see what he see already.
Yes, his man already made up. He doesn't plan, right? And if you examine the man's life, that's how he's lived his life. Right? That's why he could not hold a donga job for over 20 years. That's why he sent. First of all, right?
Yes.
This is a man that went to high school, didn't finish school, right? Got expelled from school because of violence, and the man never go and learn a trade. The man never went to continue to take some online classes. The man never did anything. Look at the man age.
Yes.
Look at the man age. The man is almost 70 years old. And what has he done in Dominica? What, when you ask around, what is Leonard Clinton's contribution in Dominica? What is it? What is it? And he came into how you come to run a party? You're almost 60 years old, my brother. You have no track record of any establishment, of any hard work, of any charity work, of anything, any business, right? You were in Antigua, doing the same thing you're doing down here on a radio station, lying about people, defaming people, accusing people of corruption, and the next day the same people you accuse of corruption, when one party fire you join the same party.
Yes.
Right? He was accusing Asad Michael of corruption, and when he got fired, the next day he jumped on for Asad Michael.
Yes, to the driver at once.
Yes.
Senior council driver.
Yeah. So I mean, the man history tells you the whole story. It tells you the whole story, the entire story of his life.
Yes, it
was his name that was signed on Memorandum of Understanding for selling diplomatic passport.
That is right, absolutely.
Even Edison's name you never see on Memorandum of Understanding. It was Lennox Clinton's name on Memorandum of Understanding.
And as you bring that up, Clarence, I listened to after when he got caught, when he got busted by Al Jazeera, when Al Jazeera realized he was a crook. Right?
Yes.
He invited him to Dominica to investigate the Prime Minister, making his wild accusations. And Al Jazeera reporters realized that guy is a crook. And he said, you know what? I suspect what he's accusing the Prime Minister of. Let us lure him. Let's make him an offer. And bam, what do you know? He got caught.
Yes.
And the man is on the radio station with Matt. And the man says he admits to signing the MOUs.
Yes.
But he signed MOUs between him and David Bruni.
He bullied us.
Right? And funny, so the question I had to ask is, as a leader of a party, you have an executive, you have a deputy, you have, Danny, you have Isaac Baptiste, you have, all the leaders. None of them have come out and say, well, yes, that was we as a party, as an executive, we planned that thing and we decided we were going to sign MOUs with David Bruni to go and do whatever. None of them said that.
No, they have not.
So how did he send MOU? It was a secret between him and David Bruni? Secret to his executive?
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things I was looking at with some of those who advocate on behalf of the WP to try to paint things as if it is doom and gloom in the country, or to give the impression that some kind of violence, uprising will take place in the country, is that they speak like as if they speak righteousness and they defend justice and truth and everything. But on these issues, where evidence have presented itself to prove the very things that they themselves try to condemn every day is happening right in their doorstep, they make no comments about it.
None, no comments. And do you know the flimsy excuses? Oh, you all watch the Al Jazeera tape, and it was a whole hour long, and you'll only take the last 5 minutes. But you know what? To people who deal with facts and evidence, the last 5 minutes is what matters, because the rest of the tape was one man making accusations. Right, one man. But then when it came to Linton, his personal lawyer voice was heard talking to Al Jazeera, agreeing to make the deal. Right? Then we saw Leonard Clinton's signature. Right? So we have irrefutable evidence that they hatched this plan to sell his passport for these people in exchange for ambassadorship for $400,000 a piece.
That's right.
And we had OJ caught not just on audio, on video, watching and listening to him brokering the deal. Right? So I mean that is what matters.
Yes.
That is what evidence is.
Yes.
Right? The man who was making his accusations, or whatever his name, Ali, whatever his name, he was just talking, making claims, but he has no evidence to back it up.
Right.
Even Al Jazeera said they have no evidence to back it up, and Skerrit has denied everything.
Absolutely.
The Prime Minister denied everything, and they had no evidence.
Yeah.
So they say, okay, if Lennox Linton is making those cases and getting those people to make those allegations, let us put him to the test.
That's right. That is right.
And they put him to the test, and he was caught red-handed in the trap.
Hand in the cookie jar.
Hand in the cookie jar. He was caught. And he has nothing to show that Roosevelt Skerrit or any other person in the government has been thing, because basically, according to them, all what they have been saying, all what Al Jazeera came up with, is what they had been saying.
So, and I was just thinking today, how did they come up with that price, $400 a piece? You know, and I conclude to myself, you know what? The only, logical, way to explain this is that's something they have been doing.
Well, yes, and because we have to recall that the revelation by Sam Raphael back in 2017 was to tell us what was going on with Edison James, who obviously placed Linton in the position that he is. And Linton were accustomed to traveling with Edison to send kids back and forth. Edison would have tutored him on all of what is at stake. And Edison recognized that he needed somebody that can raise the money. And he told that to Dominica. And at the time when he was saying that,
one of the criteria for Lennox Linton being the leader, because he knows how to raise the money.
Right.
Somebody who can raise the money.
But what Edison didn't tell Dominicans is that
how he raising the money.
The money that Linton would be raising and how he would be raising it would not be for Dominicans, but for Linton. And I suppose Edison himself, the picture.
Simeon,
yes.
Do you know what is more, what is more egregious, right? These fellas decided the best way to explain the transfer of these monies was to say it was for humanitarian aid.
Yes.
Right? Yes. When after Hurricane Maria, when we needed humanitarian aid, these fellas didn't do anything, my brother. These fellas didn't raise a penny. And then to satisfy their own selfish and gluttonous greed, they using the country's name and using the suffering of the nation and the people, and to claim his humanitarian aid. But this guy, let me tell you something. This Linton guy he's a character,
One of a kind. Yes.
One of a kind.
Yes.
And the thing about it is, Simeon, he will fool his supporters.
Yeah, well, that's what he's doing every day. I mean, and that's why I said that when these people talk about division in the country, and they want to give the impression that it's the DLP that's creating division, or they want to talk about pastors that no longer talking to them or not interested in talking to them in the church, because some of the things that they say, some people just really cannot deal with them because of the things that they say, and until in Dominica, the leader of the opposition, the UWP, accept that they are fairly defeated at an election, ignorance will continue.
Yes. And the thing about him is, right, my brother, there are some people who have a knack, who have an ability. Well, he is obvious, but when somebody is BSing you. You know a used car salesman when you see one.
Yes.
By the way they speak, right? The way they speak, their tone, the words they use, and this is how I describe this guy, right? And that's what I think. That's what I think the people from Al Jazeera they suspected the way he speaks, right? Because you remember when Mr. was caught plagiarizing Chastney's speech.
Yes.
I know he was caught, because when you listen to this guy speak, you could tell he's inauthentic.
Yes.
He's not real. You could tell he's a copy and paste person.
Yes.
Right? The words he uses, his phrases he uses, you could tell he's a copy and paste person. That's how they call him. That's what they call him. This is not this guy's work. This is not his speech. You could tell.
Right.
It's easy to tell if you're paying attention. Yes. And that's what they call him. Right? And that's how he's lived his life. Right? As a phony. A phony. A fraud. Right? And his entry into politics is yet another fraud.
Yes.
Because it was not done with the intent to represent anybody or make anyone's life better. It was meant solely to satisfy his own personal ego and greed.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
To come in to get what do you call it? Retirement.
Yes, retirement.
Yeah.
Only about him.
That was the only way he could get it, because the man hasn't worked anywhere. So that was an easy way for him to come in. He runs 2 seats he runs 2 seats in St. Marigot.
Yes.
He gets a pension. Easy. When people have been working since they 17 years old, working all their life, disciplined enough to work in a job for 10, 20, 30 years, like Clarence did. Like you've been doing all your life, Simeon.
Yes, you get that for 10 years.
But for him, it's the easy way out. To stay at a job and work for 20 years, it's too much for him. He cannot do that.
But he ain't do no work as leader of the opposition, but he still gets in his pension anyway.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's easy, because once you win twice, you get a pension. Isn't that? Am I right, Clarence?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Terms.
Exactly.
After 6 2 terms, but
yes.
the 2 terms the minimum would be 6 years.
6 years, yes.
So right now he is
qualified.
He qualified to get a pension.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you see, when people, all of us working since we leave high school, we working. Right? This man hasn't worked for 20 years. He told you himself he couldn't find a job.
Nobody would employ him. Nobody would employ him. Nobody.
Unemployable.
It's put him there to run Dominica.
Thus is the life of a loser. Right? Of a Tom Sawyer. Of an errant boy who doesn't want to work, but he wants glory, he wants praise, and he wants money. That's what we have in Lyndon.
Yes.
All right, my brother. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening.
Yes, my brother. Thank you there for your contribution here.
Yeah.
All right, take care there. Yes, Karen. So again, the opposition can come with whatever they want. They can, mislead people like they have always done. But the DLP, no doubt, will continue to take Dominica to the next level. And that is something that we will continue to see. And we will be there to continue to destroy whatever foolishness that they come with. Let's take another call there. Good evening on the overseas line. Good evening.
Good evening, my brother. Good evening, my brother Simeon and my brother Clarence. How are you guys doing this evening?
That's Lloyd.
Yes, that's Lloyd there. Doing all right, yes.
Okay, greatest one.
Yes, but I want to say good evening. You heard me clearly, Clarence?
Yeah, I'm hearing you. You're coming across loud and clear, yes.
Okay, good. And I want to good evening to all the Dominicans that are abroad. Very good program, as usual, Clarence. I like the way you guys breaking down the issues and bringing an honest, information to the listening public, both at home and abroad. Clarence was talking a while ago about, the post-mortem and you also mentioned, the leader of the opposition would not, or the party, the entire party would not accept defeat. And that comes from a lack of maturity. If you're mature, if you have any kind of political maturity or any maturity in general, you admit, number one, if you're wrong. Number two, you admit your defeat. And what you usually do, I was just, in and out looking at West Indies and Australia there. West Indies won the match. And what happened after the match is all the West Indian players, they lined up, and the cricketers from Australia, they came through, right where they were sitting, and they stood up, and everybody shook everybody's hands. Nobody left the field and upset and cursing and breaking the bats and catching a tantrum and taking the ball and cursing the umpire, tell them you did not. This is what mature people do. You in a match, as Hunter rightly sang, when you win, when you lose, you just go home and do a post-mortem, as Karen said, and see where you lose. What is the cause of you not winning the election? In the case of the UWP, that have not been the case. When they didn't want the majority of the votes in 1995, but they won as a party. Nobody fight, Simeon.
No.
Laborites didn't come out there cursing and getting on and burning roads and blocking streets.
No.
We didn't do that.
No.
Although they did not win the majority of the vote. We could have said, but no, these guys, they win the majority between the Freedom Party and the Labour Party. We have won, and we could get on. And actually, we may have had some reason, but based on the Constitution, we couldn't do that. We went home, and we stayed on the sideline. And what we did, as Karen said, we did a post-mortem. What we did, we realized we have to work harder. What we did, we embraced our supporters and we looked for more support. We find out where we were lacking. And come 2000, we got there. And come 2005 and beyond, we remained there. And as you could see a consistent growth in the Labour Party endeavors and its fight during election, when it contests the election. Okay, so it's not like we have the Prime Minister constantly be calling for calm. Even when Laborites want to go out there and really get upset, because sometimes Simeon and Clarence, we feel we in ourselves, we feel like we have had enough of this nonsense coming from the other side. But the Prime Minister constantly, as the good leader he is, a leader of immense, strong, and a high characteristic level, concerned to tell us, this is not necessary. Stay away from trouble. Let's not get into any contention or any argument with them. That is what the leader of the party is doing on a consistent basis. And Don is right.
Yes.
Once as a leader, you are the one that will tell your supporters. And because of the respect and love that the supporters have for you, they respect you. But we have the leader of the opposition who is in a constant state of he wants to fight. He's angry. He is upset. And whether it is the Privy Council where he loses his case, he's upset. And the 20 petitions that he sent, the election petitions that he sent into the court, he's upset because they told him there's no evidence, there's nothing there. So he's upset with the court and the judicial system. He's upset with the government. because the government is working hard on behalf of the people and making sure things are done for those that are less fortunate among us, things that are done for the middle class, and things that are done for the entire spectrum of the country. He's upset because he cannot get into power. This is called a lack of maturity. This is called small-mindedness. This is called childish behavior, Simeon. That is what it's called. And so you see that behavior pattern. And Clarence, you would agree with me. When the older you get, it's the more wisdom you're supposed to acquire, because you see things now from a more mature perspective. But it seems like in the case of the leader of the UWP, it's right the opposite. The older you get, is the more. I mean, I don't understand this.
And he's
lazy.
When you're young,
you behave.
He's lazy. He's lazy because he cannot see himself sitting down for 2 days and analyzing the results of all 21 constituencies. Why you lose?
That's right. That's right.
So he get the easiest way and say it's diasporans that make him lose.
The same diasporans that he come and tell them, take
money and come home to vote.
Whatever you can, come down and come vote for me. This is the level that this guy have in his head. This is what he deals with, and expect people to. Currently, we didn't look. The Labour Party won 18 out of 21 seats. So it's not like it was a 10-11, and there's maybe about 50 votes difference that makes a difference, and so you're fighting. It's 18 seats. How you get the government or the Labour Party won by this or by this? You don't see it's 18 seats. But these guys, Clarence, this guy Simeon, and I am surprised and I'm disappointed in the religious community. I'm disappointed in those so-called religious leaders that don't have the gall and cannot master what they call proper leadership to tell this joker on the UWP side that, you know what, it's time to give up that level of hatred and the poisonous venom that you're trying to inject in the minds of the people. They themselves are operative on the UWP, and they themselves have no leadership characteristics and skills in them. And that is why Lennox don't behave the way they behave, because those that should tell him, listen, this is not the way to behave, they are the ones supporting the level of stupidity, dishonesty, and mind-bending tactics, and the level of lack of moral fortitude that this gentleman, the leader of the opposition, on a consistent basis, continue to portray there. Simeon, let me just make a few points here. When the budget is coming up on the 20th of this month, next week, Wednesday, and you would believe, Simeon and parents, that the UWP members right in the House, in the Assembly, House of Assembly, did none of them work. Spark Jung don't have a job. Danny Duque doesn't hold a job. Don't talk about the opposition leader. So you would believe, Clarence and Simeon, that these guys would have enough time, take their time because they do not work anywhere, and go over the budget. Go over the budget and come up with some kind of, what I would call a decent discussion if there is one, an argument. But they're so lazy, as Karen said, they wouldn't have the time for this. They leave it undone. And then you come to the House on Wednesday and talk about a bunch of nonsense, garbage, things that have nothing to do with the budget. And try to burn the minds of the people and actually get people that are listening to the budget debate frustrated because they're wasting government time. They're wasting people's time because they have nothing, absolutely nothing to contribute to the budget. The budget debate is one of the most, if not the most important debates of the country. Everybody's eyes and ears are glued to the budget debate because you don't want to know what is there, what the government is planning to do in the next, in the short term, mid term, and long term, at least for this year. What is going to happen? But you would think these guys would come out and give us a solid debate like the Michael Douglases and the Rosie Douglas and others, Matt Charles and Brian Allen and Charles Savin and those guys. Those guys, do you think they would come and give us something of importance and substance? But wait, Simeon, just wait on Wednesday. And you'll hear the level of stupidness that will be spewing out of these people. And you would think the young senators that are there, the young senators would at least see, boy, Leonard Singleton time is over. Spark Jung time is gone. Danny Luge is no longer relevant. And let me kind of move away from these guys and try to show something in terms of presenting something for the people. Yes. They themselves, the members from the one from Vekas and the Kainago territory, they themselves fall prey in that level of nonsense that the leader is giving them. I mean, we cannot afford to have these people on a consistent basis getting paid from the state, Simeon, and not performing. In my estimation and in my judgment and Karen, as a finance man, this is the fraud in the state because you're getting paid for doing nothing. You are defrauding taxpayers, and there should be a law in the Constitution against that. Because we can't afford to have people come in and ride on the curtail of taxpayers. Spend 5 years getting paid for doing absolutely nothing. Simeon has a company, and he has to go to work every day.
They tell you.
He tells you something how tired he is. After a week of work, Clarence, you have your own firm, and you work every day. And we have people who ride in the state does absolutely nothing, and the state have to pay these opposition people for doing nothing. This is the fraud in the state. This is eating taxpayers' money for nothing. When we have the government side, the Prime Minister laying out on a consistent basis, working, putting things in place to make sure the country move on an upward direction. And having said that,
yes,
I want to thank the government for the hard work in having our new, the flight that is coming from Miami, the American Airlines International flight, direct flight from Miami to Charles Douglas. This is going to open another set of new horizon, new frontier for the country. Tourism is going to take another hike, another step higher. More people are going to be employed, the taxi drivers, restaurants, hotels. And that is to show you, Simeon, that the country is in going in an upward trajectory. The government is working. Senior Minister Blackmore, Minister Douglas, Minister Paul, and all the others, Minister Laville, and all of them, Minister Charles, the Minister of Tourism, they are working in the interest of the country. And that is what we need. These are the kind of people we need, not the lazy set of people that sits there, their butt down, and does nothing to help move the country forward, then criticize, denigrate, goes all over the world and criticize the country and tell people, oh, we're having atrocities committed in this country, lies, dishonesty. We can't afford to have this people in government. Let's continue to support good policy, and we're going to support the budget as we listen to it on Wednesday coming. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you for your contribution here. Yes.
On the last note,
yes, Tars. Yes,
the
Tars.
American Airlines coming into Dominica. The next few months, for a few weeks, look out for JetBlue.
Following.
Look out for JetBlue going to follow. I mean, from Miami to Dominica, JetBlue going to follow.
Yes, indeed. Just to read one of the comments there coming from our Cairo FM Facebook page there, as the discussion continues. Someone is saying there in sports, and that's a good example there being highlighted by one of our followers there on Facebook. In sports, teams must follow protocols. No one can bring the sports or game into disrepute. Politics must follow that example. That's a very good example there. Because in sports, you expect one team to win and you expect one team to lose. That is what sports is about. One team to win, one team to lose. And anyhow, you have a team that doesn't agree when they lose. That is a recipe for disaster. Because what it means, the players that didn't accept they will lose, whether it's cricket they're playing, they want to mash up the bat, mash up, throw away the ball, mash up the wicket, and spoil the game. Or they can follow the protocols, shake hands, say what a good game we had, and look forward to the next game where they would again have another tournament. And hopefully they might, who knows. But in the opposition, in Dominica, Ipanisa.
What they're looking for is to fix the match.
They want to fix the match.
They want to fix the match in terms of electoral reform. So what they want to do, against the law, because there's no law for it, for how they call it, they say it's cleanse the list. So you go ask people home. So I am from Pishley, but I live in Salisbury. I have never changed my vote. I vote in Pishley. I vote in the Peter constituency. For the over 20 years I've been living in Salisbury, I vote in Pishley. That's where I was registered. That's where I vote. And you vote where you register.
Yes.
Where you vote until you change your vote. So you want to come to Pishley, you don't see me in Pishley, you take my name out of the voters list. Period. So you take my name out of the voters list, so I cannot vote. That's what they want to do.
Yes.
Because I'm not in Pishley, but I'm voting in Salisbury.
So according to Edison, we want electoral reform in a way that will make us win the election.
So you live in St. Thomas, but you're in Dominica like Paul Alexander, or even Lloyd, who just called every week, in fact.
Yes.
Lloyd is in Dominica from St. Martin every week.
All the telephones are going. Let's see if we can
you take his name out of the list.
Let's see if we can take a couple fast calls there again before we leave, because
it's a match fixing exercise.
I've had a very long day today, and this opposition there in Dominica that believe that they have a right to something that the citizens of this country have said that, hello, we are not prepared for you to lead the way. I mean, I just don't know. Let's just take this final call there on the local line before we leave. It's already 11:20 there. Good evening on the local line.
Yes. Simo, good night. Good evening.
Hey, Senior Minister.
No, I know it's past 11.
I know when I have to give you time, so I feel energy.
Not tonight. I heard some fellas say because I become a preacher, I don't call it anymore.
I feel energized again.
But that is deciding for him, Simo. But what, Simo, I mean, you guys did a good program, very, very good program. As usual, Tony was spot on, and Donnie and Lloydie as usual, and you raised some very important issues, the issues as related to the budget, the issues as related to the international airport, the issues as related to the continued threat of violence and civil war in Dominica, which is what I would really have loved to comment on tonight.
But feel free, because we are still open.
But just before I do that, Simo, on the issue of American Airlines flying into Dominica in December, I have not heard any heavy celebration on the part of the United Workers' Party for that great move.
No.
Now, I know they have a problem. I know they don't want the airport. I know they don't want us to build the airport, and they will do everything they can to stop the airport. But that announcement did not come from Dominica.
No.
It came from American Airlines.
Yes.
And Simon, American Airlines don't come into your country because they like the sunshine and they like to see the rainbows. These guys are not tourists. These guys are business people.
Yes.
And they follow the business.
Yes.
And they, after years, have come to realize that Dominica has a good base. And Clarence, good night, Clarence, good night. A good base for them to launch their business.
Yes.
And so they have decided to come. Now, this is what all of us in the country, on all political fronts, have been asking for. When are we going to get direct flights from the United States? And it was as a result of that we decided we needed an international airport.
Yes.
We didn't want the international airport just because we wanted to pour concrete in the country. We wanted to build an airport that would facilitate direct flights into Dominica, from Europe, from Asia, from America. And today, American Airlines is announcing that they'll be flying in Dominica in December. I would expect that to be a big celebration.
Yes.
Especially from the guys living in the diaspora. These guys are there playing bright. Now we have an opportunity to come directly to Dominica. You can come and campaign on a Friday and go back on a Wednesday if you feel like it.
Yes.
They should be celebrating the airport. The move by American Airlines.
Airline, yes. Direct flight.
Simeon, I have to say to you that this move by American Airlines is as a direct result of the investment of our CBI funding. Because don't forget, one of the arguments put against or for and against the airport was that which one came first, the airport or the hotels? Because really, people want to come to Dominica, but want to go what to do. We have invested the CBI fund in the hotels. And now that we have the hotels, people want to come. And when American Airlines did the analysis and they did their study on the ground, they recognized that there's a market for them, for people wanting to come to Dominica.
That's right. That's right.
My brother. And I think that's a major coup that the country has won, to have people wanting to come to Dominica, that one of the largest airlines in the world have decided that they see an opportunity to come to Dominica because they anticipate that the traffic will grow, or there's the potential for the growth of the traffic. 3 or 4 years before the construction of the international airport.
Yes, in advance.
Because that is what it is we are being told. So they're not coming here because we intend to build the airport.
Right.
They're coming here, not the Douglas Charles Airport was always there, so it could not be because we did Douglas Charles. That might help. That might give them more confidence. But Douglas Charles have been here for the last 10 years.
Yes.
So one of the main reasons, Simeon, I believe that they don't want to come is because they see an opportunity. They see an opening up of Dominica.
A new market.
They see a new market. There's a fresh market, a virgin market. And so they have decided to put their money, they invest their money, their time, and their resources into exploring the Dominican market.
Yes.
Something that we have all been asking for. And I'm saying, Simon, that if you don't want to talk about the airport because you're not in favor of the airport, but talk about the airline.
Right.
If you don't want to say it's the government that do it because you don't want to give the government no credit, but say it's an initiative by American Airlines themselves.
Right.
Because you afraid the government has done nothing as far as you're concerned. The government has done nothing. But my God, just thank American Airlines for choosing Dominica as one of the 2 of their new destinations.
Yes.
And Dominicans have to feel proud, Simeon.
Yes, indeed.
Proud because of the management of our CBI funds. Because had it not been for the CBI funds, had it not been for the construction of those hotels, American Eagle pull out, my brother. American Eagle and Italy had 74 people that pull out. And American Airlines now agree that they come in.
Yes.
Because the government has invested heavily in the tourism infrastructure in terms of hotels.
Yes.
That now the Americans feel that we want to come because we believe that we have a captured market. And we have gone on to detail all the benefits that could be derived from it.
Yes.
But it seems to me that the wisdom of Roosevelt's carrot is paying off. Remember they told us we should invest in all these hotels.
Right.
Remember they criticized the Kempinski. They said the hotel were built for crabs.
Yes.
When we went to get an extension of another 15 acres of land for the airport, they debated against it in Parliament.
That's right.
They debated giving the government the authority to utilize 15 acres of land in the Cambridge area for the construction of the hotel. They describe it as a source of money laundering. They say it would remain as a white elephant.
That's right.
They criticize it. They told Sam Raphael not to build.
Yes.
They criticize the energy. They criticize tranquility. They criticize all the 5-star hotels that the government invested in.
Yep.
And today I can boast and I can say with no fear of contradiction that is because of this investment that you have American Airlines wanting to come to Dominica. Because people want to come because they have a place to stay.
That's right.
A proper place to stay. Or places to stay. My brother. That is what the United Workers' Party has been trying to stop.
Yes.
Stop the CBI funding for Dominica. That is what they're fighting. To kill the CBI.
Yes.
For the Americans to blacklist us because they say we're selling passports to crooks and terrorists.
Yep. Yep.
And Simeon, American Airlines is here. And they're only here, not because we build an international airport, not because we say we're going to build an airport, not because we started the airport, but because of the hotels and the interests that people now have in our country.
Right.
And Simeon, we did not build that overnight.
That's true.
We did not build, we did not get to where we are here now.
No.
By the cracking of our matches.
Nope. That took time.
Here because of steady hard work. We did from 2000. One of the hardest periods in the history of Dominica. The 2000-2005 period. When we knew that the United Workers' Party had crashed the economy.
That's right.
When there was no economy.
That's right.
We could not pay our debt. We could not pay public officers. We could not buy truck for the schools. We could not buy toilet paper for the toilet. Because the United Workers' Party had its all the money.
Suck it dry.
You understand, Simeon? That is what we inherited.
That's right.
We inherited people who could hardly feed themselves. We inherited a level of poverty and indigent poverty in the country that was unheard of. Because of what the United Workers' Party did to the economy. We inherited Social Security, but the United Workers' Party owed Social Security $30 million. People's money that they put aside for their retirement. The United Workers' Party stopped that too. So there's no money to pay if there was a crisis, Simeon.
That's right.
Simeon, there was a run, the overdraft at the National Bank. That part of the conditions to restore was to divest government interest in the bank.
Yes.
Because previous government had abused that authority, had abused that facility. That when they were sanctioned for money, they just went to the bank and just took money from the bank.
Abuse of the poor.
The aid bank, my brother. What happened to pensioners? Unpaid checks at the treasury. This was what we inherited in 2000.
Yep.
And like Hurricane Maria, we were told that we needed 10 years to get out of that crisis. And by 2005, we were out of the crisis.
Yep.
To a certain extent. We could have gone on our own then, but no, we decided to remain. For stability and fiscal prudence, we remain. Simo, you hearing me?
Loud and clear.
Today, we have put our country, that the entire world is looking at our country. People have their eyes on Dominica now. They want to come.
That's right.
They want to come and see this little country that was devastated by Maria. 99% of the economy, the entire infrastructure, tourism, housing, agriculture, totally and completely destroyed. And in less than 5 years, Simeon, we're talking about building an international airport.
That's right.
After all what we've been through, Erica, Maria, COVID, which little countries that's so bold-faced, that want to build an airport in wake of all this crisis?
Tell you.
But Simeon, that demonstrates the confidence that Roosevelt Skerrit and the Dominican Labour Party have in the people of Dominica. The confidence that we have that we can turn the fortunes of this country around. The confidence that we have, even in this budget, that we can raise the 400 million we need for capital projects, for public sector investment projects, and we can continue, and we have increased our recurrent budget because we are confident that in spite of all what is happening around us, because don't forget, Bossman, the estimate is a statement of revenue and expenditure.
Yes.
It's how much money you make and what you can spend.
That's right.
And you can increase your spending because you're confident that you can make the money.
And that's the key point there.
And we are very confident. We have done it in the past. We're doing it now. And in the future, we are very, very confident that we have laid a foundation, we have laid a platform for the economic development of this country that we have now reached. What they say, nothing will happen. My brother, you don't believe that men just get up tomorrow morning and say they're going to build an airport?
I know. No happen so.
Because they decide where you're going to go and pick up $1 million on the side of the road somewhere.
That no happen so.
Hard work, confidence. People have confidence in us, and we have confidence in ourselves that we can do it.
That's right.
We can make it happen. We have the best CBI program in the world, and it's paying up for us.
Yes.
That we can depend on the CBI to deliver for us in 3 or 4 years $1 billion airport.
Yes.
Simo.
Yes. Yes.
That is where we are.
Yes, I tell you.
That is what we're doing. And it's only so the but we're not. But we have confidence in ourselves. We have confidence in our country. We have confidence in our people. And the people have confidence in us. They trust us.
That's right.
They know us, Simeon.
That's right.
They know what we've done. They know all these social programs that we have put together just to ensure that we could cushion the impact of the hard times that we had to go through.
That's right.
From 2020, whenever United Workers' Party left.
Yeah, they left in 1999, 2000.
In 2006.
Yes.
And we have led that path. And we have seen a gradual growth.
Yes.
We have seen the gradual successes that we have had. You have seen, we have fixed up almost 95% of our roads are in tip-top shape. Our bridges. Simon, we were preparing for that moment.
I know.
People want to come to Dominica now because we have prepared a place for them.
That's right.
For them to come in comfort and in style. The only fear we have, Simeon, is those hooligans United Workers' Party who will use violence to stop our upward movement. But I'm not going to talk on that tonight, Simeon.
Yes.
I will not talk on that tonight. It will be too long.
Yes.
But the issue of a civil war.
Yes.
Simeon, it was shameful to see your fellow there, Peter Carbon, trying to equate it with mulattoes versus Negroes.
Yes. That was just shameful.
I'm not sure, but Simeon, it's really shameful that in this period when we talk in this Emancipation Month, when we talk about emancipating our people, Randy Rodney encourages and conducts a discussion with Peter Carbon, talking about civil war and making reference to mulatto versus slaves.
Yes.
Simon, who is the mulatto in this country?
I want to know.
And who is the children of slave in this country? Peter Carbon was the blackest man in Dominica, called himself a mulatto.
I can understand that.
Simeon, it's the United Workers' Party that won the war. The Labour Party has a clean record.
Yes.
Anti-violence.
That's right.
Had it not been for the stewardship and leadership of Roosevelt Skerritt, the civil war would have started already. But we know we're not in no civil war. It shall never happen by the grace of God.
That's right.
There shall be no civil war in this country. And these men are serious. Nicholas John has done his assessment.
Yes.
And he told you that the police are not enough men. Who was he saying that message to? What was the message there, Simeon?
Yes.
When a military man, a law enforcement officer for many years, a man who had been the operations manager and operations chief, and to make an analysis, to sit down in his house, and to make an analysis of the state of the police in terms of arms, the state of the police in terms of manpower, and to publish that, to speak to that publicly, to have it on national, international record. John, what is the message?
Yes.
Who are you inviting?
Right.
Who are you telling that it's time to come? And you tell the police that no, we intend to take stock. It means that there's something around the corner coming.
I tell you, brother.
And Randy Rodney sits there as a man of a so-called man of God. And he supports that rubbish. He supports that bullshit, Simeon. I will talk a little more on that, but I'll have more time because I don't want to impose on you, Simeon.
Yes.
But it will not happen. There shall be no civil war in this country.
That's right.
As long as Roosevelt Skerritt and the Dominica Labour Party remain, there shall be no civil war.
That's right.
Because civil wars have been attempted by the United Workers' Party. February 7th, a classic example.
That's right. That's right.
When they were trying to reverse the truck into the financial center and to take over the government. They are the ones who told the people of Dominica that they must stone police when police come to patrol and to do their duties.
That's right.
They have disrespected the law enforcement agents in Dominica, which is the police. Inviting violence against the police.
That's right.
Stone the police. Simeon, of course, they're planning for a civil war. They were the ones who had the bags of stones outside, not Labour Party.
That's true.
You ever hear Labour Party behind no violence?
Nope, not at all.
All violent moves in this country have been made by the United Workers' Party, both in reality and on the radio program. Simeon. That is what they have.
Yes.
They know what they're planning as far as civil war is concerned.
Yes.
The problem is God is and his hands and eyes over this country that the plans never materialize, Simeon. Because the power of good is always more than the power of evil.
That's right.
And this Labour Party government and the people of Dominica, they are people of goodness. Simeon.
Yes, indeed.
People of joy and pride.
Yes.
And they're people of, well, I don't like me to use the word gratitude, but that is what it is. These people are grateful for what the government of Dominica has been able to do for them.
That's right.
For the last 20 or so years.
That's why they have re-elected this government.
Taking them out of poverty, that have made their children lawyers and doctors, that they have taken care of their senior citizens, that they have taken care of their children, that they have taken care of their health needs, that they have taken care of their educational needs. That is why, Simeon. And even the children on the street, we took the children off the street and put them in the NEP so we could gain some employment.
That's right.
Stop being idle on the road.
That's right.
And stop being described, as United Workers Party described them as waiting for knives and guns to shoot and to kill for people.
Yes.
That is why, Simeon, God knows we're doing a great work in this country. And that is why he has given us the energy, the wisdom, given our Prime Minister the courage and the endurance to make the development of this country happen. This is why he has given us the resources to build the international airport, because with this airport, we will see the final complete eradication of poverty.
Indeed.
We will see opportunities foreign people beginning to come to look to see where they can invest in this country. And then we are in a good place.
Yes.
And let us try to remain in that place.
Indeed.
Let us support our government. Let us support our people. Let us support our country. Let us not curse our country like the opposition.
That's right.
Let us ask God to continue to shower his blessings upon this land. And out of this land will come great things, Simeon.
Indeed.
I just wanted to make that short point, Simeon.
Thank you, Senior Minister. Good night
God
to
bless
you. Bless you
God bless
too.
Clarence. God bless our people.
Yes, indeed.
And we're looking forward with great expectation, with great excitement to the unraveling of this 2021-2022 budget. It holds a lot for the country.
Yes.
It means a lot to the country, Simeon.
Indeed.
And let us pray that we shall have a successful debate.
Yes.
Put our case forward.
Yes.
And let the United Workers Party put their case forward. When last did we hear the United Workers Party propose any measure that could bring any form of development or any form of relief? The last one was when they wanted to join Free Rivers.
Free Rivers.
That's the last time. You remember when they come and talk about this Free Rivers?
Yeah.
They wanted to join. I don't know whether they're on the ground.
The Free Rivers. Yeah.
They made
Yes.
for bringing some relief to the people of this country.
Oh, Lord. Join the Free Rivers.
They're not interested in leading this country.
That's right.
They want civil war. So a government would be imposed on us. And they would get rewarded.
I reject that in Jesus' name, man.
It will not happen, Simeon. It will never happen. It will never happen.
Indeed.
Good night, Simeon.
Take care, brother.
God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you. Thank you indeed, Senior Minister, for gracing us with your, of course, as we have this final call there for tonight. But we want to thank you for really closing up tonight's program with your powerful presentation here tonight. Certainly, as we prepare ourselves for for this week, as Prime Minister Skerrit will continue in the Parliament to present what will be another budget, certainly aiming at continuing the development of Dominica. Indeed, thank you again, Senior Minister. Clarence, it's that time when we wrap up and we say thank you to our listeners for listening. Your closing remarks, Clarence.
Just to say good night to all listeners. I think we had a good program. Thank you for listening. As we await the budget, we have a program on Tuesday night, so we will talk again about the budget. Probably we have a little more detail on what is happening during the course of the week. But we will listen on Wednesday. $994 million, just $6 million shy of $1 billion. And I'm sure we will have $1 billion expenditure by the end of the year because we will have supplementary estimates to bring it over that. So all we can do is wish our government good luck.
Yes.
And we await the budget day on Wednesday the 20th.
Indeed. Thank you again, Clarence. Thank you for joining me here tonight. And to all of our listeners who listen to us every night, we want to thank you all for listening. It's always a pleasure knowing that you are listening from home or from wherever you are. And to those of you who called in, thank you for calling in. Some of you try. I know you didn't get through. It's always a tight line to get on there, but we always thank you for trying, though, and keep on trying. And to all folks who join us on the Carrier FM Facebook page, we want to thank you all for joining us tonight and for, of course, being part of our discussion here this evening. No, it's always good to have social media as part of the discussion, so I want to thank you all for joining us. I want to say a special good night to you, and let's continue to ask God for his guidance and protection of our political leader, of our country, Dominica, as we continue on our quest to develop this island. Let's ask him for his protection over every minister, over every senator, and every person who is indeed working at the front line to help protect our citizens from COVID-19 spreading over this land. Thank you to all of you, the professionals, our Dr. Irvin McIntyre, and to all of the cabinet ministers who are all, working to make sure that we protect our citizens. I want to thank you all. And the folks, the doctors, the nurses, the fire officers, the taxi drivers, the folks who have to clean and maintain this quarantine. It is definitely a challenge for everybody, not just in the world, but Dominica continue to progress in a positive direction. I want to thank you all again. Senior Counsel, my brother, thank you. Always a pleasure. And Donnie and all the guys, Lloyd, we look forward to our next program on Tuesday evening where we will continue the discussions. It's been a long day for me. You can tell I'm a little bit tired now. But we will no doubt be looking forward to the budget, and also I will be looking forward to the general elections there in St. Lucia there. So big up to all the Lucians, and I do hope that you all go out there and vote. Yes, go out and vote, and remember to vote. You know what I mean? For the St. Lucia Labour Party, because we in red. Yes, I. All right, yeah. Good night to you again. Do have a wonderful rest, people. I'm going to leave you with one of my favorite tunes, O'Donnell, as we make our way out of the studio. Good night to you. God bless you, and have a wonderful weekend. And we'll be with you again on Tuesday, as I said, if God spare me little life. In the meantime, have a good night rest. God bless you.
Hey, give him Donald, I wondering who shot who. Donald, I wondering who shot who. Give them galagalang dang dang, galagalang dang dang. Boy, when you in a game, the rules remain the same. One team to lose, one team to win. If ever you lose, you go home and dress your bruise. Come back again in another game. Hey, O'Donnell, you remind me of he. O'Donnell, swear you both are family. When you storm the capital building, then inside your bunker hiding, it's the same thing Uncle would do. When you inside violence, then claim your innocence, it's the same thing Uncle would do. Hey, O'Donnell, you brought back so much memory. O'Donnell, it's like you're patterning on we. Same thing Uncle would do. When you broke and burn it up, same thing Uncle would do. When you push and mash it up, same thing Uncle would do. Lord, Donald, I want to know who taught who. Donald, I want to know who taught who. Give me. And galang dang dang, bang bang galang dang diggy, bang bang galang dang dang. Lord, blaming world police in everyone business. Yes, you care police, your stinking business. The world look with awe as you rage your war, and like a hacksaw, you hacked through the law. Hey, oh Donald, old Donald, your planning was strategic. Oh Donald, you make lawmakers panic, right? When you storm the Capitol building, then inside the bunker hiding, it's the same thing Uncle would do. When you incite violence, then you claim your innocence, same thing Uncle would do. Hey, oh Donald,